someone stood up on the other side and was like, hi, so I'm like they, them, non-binary. I'm like, oh God, here we go again.
Emily is a true girl's girl. Like, I will say, like,
I try. If I wanted to be liked, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, if I wanted to be like, I wouldn't leave a very respected profession to do what I do. Like, we just
exactly,
we don't give a
cares?
fuck. We just saw what happened with the whole Lauren Chen thing.
And by the way, fuck her.
So what's like a policy of Trump's that you would critique?
Nothing right now. Honestly, I would have to sit down and go through every single one and go in depth, because the only ones that matter to me right now are the ones he's running on. Hi, Emily Wilson, aka Emily Saves America, and I'm here with
Jasmine Jafar. I am the lawyer turned OnlyFans star.
I love it.
And why we're doing this is we were just on Jubilee Middle Ground, which was like a couple days ago. And it was a shit show. It was 60 people, 30 on the left, 30 on the right. I don't know. How was your experience?
It's so funny. So I guess the whole point was supposed to be 28 Democrats, 28 Republicans, and 6 independents.
It was supposed to be 25. It was supposed to be 25 and 25. I didn't even know they were going to bring independents, because that wasn't in the email that I got.
No, it wasn't in mine either. Plus, we all got different timings and stuff. But I guess they threw in independents because we did like a fake vote at the end. But I thought, okay, the whole point of the show was find a middle ground. So you would think that you would have people that were trying to agree on things, but I do feel like they purposely cast people that are very far right and very far left.
Yes,
because when you physically look at everyone on both sides, everyone looks nuts.
Yeah.
we have people on our side. Look, there's normal kids.
I literally said that your guys' side look like a Portland, like PSU, Portland State University, like riot. Like, literally, it was crazy. It was how you guys say we look, and I was like, you guys looked crazy.
Yeah, I was just like, it was.
We had one Hotties for Kamala shirt, which was like, but you guys had like the whole shebang.
I was like, it was so funny because I'm best friends with Xavier, who was there.
Yeah.
Which
he did great.
I will say, Xavier, unbelievable. He is extremely smart. I was glad he talked about race in America. I love what he said. It's actually beautiful to hear someone being like, I love being a Black American.
Yeah.
It's like, when do we get to hear
something
positive?
And I feel like that was one of the issues they kind of reached a middle ground on, or they at least had understanding.
They tried.
Yeah. I feel like out of the gun one, one, there was a couple where I was like, okay, I actually enjoyed this conversation. But it was mostly like the sound effects from the two sides. Like anything you guys said, like our side would be like, ah, and then anything we said, your side. Well, yeah, I get it.
And we were saying, look, let's be real. A lot of these people, she said it perfectly. A lot of these people are grifters on both sides. They came on the show. We're fine. We already have careers, so we're okay. So it's like one of those things. They just, you know what they do? They have the sound clip ready in their head, and they're like, ooh, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna own the other side. And I don't think when people sat down they saw each other as people. I think they just saw it as a competition, who can get the best soundbite, and I don't respect that on either side.
Well, also I think the setup like promotes that, right? Like, okay, you guys sit here, you guys wear this color, you guys wear that color, and then like just the crazies on each side, and then like battle it out, and there's 60 of us all fighting for mic time, which makes you annoyed with your own side. It makes you annoyed with like everybody. Like I literally had like the biggest headache. We were there from how many hours were we there? Like literally 11:30 to 8.
Like what, almost 9 hours?
Yeah, almost 9 hours. And they kept saying like, okay, like there's a second part where everybody got to talk. Absolutely not. Yeah.
No. And you had to fight to talk, and then it's like, I mean, people flew in there and didn't even get to speak. No. And I was like, what was the point of it? I thought each person would have something. And then, our own team were like nominating each other. And the one guy got butthurt because he basically nominated himself to talk about race. And then we all voted for Xavier. But I was like, you're not like controlling this.
Yeah. And even on my side, like, and the producer kept saying, you guys, like, speak on why you're the best person to speak on this. I have facts. I've debated this topic. I do this for a living. Whatever. And people, like, it'd be like immigration. Someone's like, my grandma's an immigrant. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care.
Please really tell me you remember the guy on my side that, like, I'm sorry. Like, obviously, I am who I am.
Yeah.
He was, like, stood up, would speak, like, broken English. Yeah. And be like, my grandma's. And I was like, please sit the fuck down.
Yeah, I was very because I think both of us diverged obviously from the extremes on our side, and my side was a little bit, not everybody, I would say like half and half. Half of my side was very like wokey dokey, like, oh, we want to bring only people of, like, if you're a person of color or you have a personal experience.
We were laughing about that.
I know. They were like the ones being nominated. So we almost both went up for the abortion topic, which we should have done. Which is one of the reasons we're doing this, so we can actually bring you a middle ground.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's so annoying. And think about, okay, this is what made me so mad. It's the abortion topic. We nominate a pro-life man who's like 20 years old to talk about abortion.
Yeah.
Not a woman.
Yeah, especially one who would be obviously ready to reach a middle ground. And on my side, like, we nominated someone just because they were assaulted. And I'm like, which is really sad, but I don't know why that would make you like eligible. Why does that make you qualified to talk about something? And like, we were tied, me and her, and I just like, okay, whatever, you can go.
Yeah.
But it's just like, why would you even want someone to go debate this topic in front of millions of people just because of that?
Also,
right?
You're not coming in with facts or statistics. You're literally coming in with like a clear bias and a personal story, which, like, the thing is, that's not something most people can relate to.
Exactly. And I knew, because I can think. So I'm like, okay, if you go up there and you talk about the rape exception, then they're just going to be like, which is exactly what happened. Fine, that's the middle ground. And I'm like, I know all of you are pro-choice outside of cases of rape and incest and life of the mother. So it's a stupid starting point to talk in these extremes. And then the middle ground will just be like, and same thing for your side, I would say, talking about late-term abortions.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, fine, fuck late-term abortions. But no pro-life person is like, okay, I'm fine with abortion unless it's in the 9th month. Right? And I think on our side, nobody's okay with no abortion except for cases of rape. So it's a stupid, like, but it's one of those things that gets people's emotions going, and so many people operate on emotion over
And even our side, like, we make fun of the other side for being like super emotional too, and then I'm like watching everyone get their panties in a bundle, and I'm like, no offense, I'm like, the only people who are really I'm like, so I do this for a living. Xavier's very successful, and then Sheila Nazarian, who is, I mean, she did the Middle East, Israel,
which was a very contentious one.
Which is like the hardest one you could do. I'm like, I'd rather sew my mouth shut than do that one. But it was like, she is one of the smartest women I've ever met.
She's a good speaker. I vehemently disagreed with her, but she is a good speaker. Yeah. And when our side was like, can we do something about the comments that was
okay we have to talk about what happened. Okay, so like, obviously Republicans constantly make fun of like the left for being sensitive.
We became a meme,
and then the meme became life, because they actually, you know how we talk about censorship coming from the left, they actually tried to censor us in real life. They said like, what did they say?
They're like, we just want to talk about what's allowed and not allowed, because some of the comments, I don't even remember the comments.
I think because we
but it's like, you came like here to have a debate on very contentious issues. You have to be ready for that. Like, this is why they call us snowflakes. And I will also say, on the right, you do get those types of people too that want to censor and but I was like, let's not be these people in this. And thankfully that was off camera. If that was on camera, I'd be like,
it was disavow. Like, that was really funny, and then everyone kept like, I was so over it and just didn't care, because you can't keep me anywhere that long without paying me. So I just was just like,
they didn't really pay us.
I was like, talk about, my day rate would be this whole room.
So
I was like laughing, because I was just like, at one point, like, someone stood up on the other side and was like, hi, so I'm like they, them, non-binary. I'm like, oh God, here we go again. And I'm like, just
we actually had to cut a lot of topics too, because it was so contentious, which, I mean, you would expect with 60 people. It's just too many people. Like a normal middle ground, at least you get to speak, right? Like with the 8, it's tough, but you're sharing the mic with 8 people. Sharing the mic with 58 people is really crazy. And then they had us do that voting thing where it's like, now we're all quiet, and one by one we're just like,
it didn't work, because everyone thought that they were best to talk on the subject, and I'm like, wait, let me get, and it was funny because I was gonna debate climate, but then 3 of the topics got cut.
I wanted to do election, and that one was cut. So
that's what happens when you have 60 people arguing, and then you expect them to come to a middle ground.
They're like 4 minutes for this, 4 minutes for that, and it's like, that's just a very, and I'm sure they expected it. Like, you could tell, like, they were really stressed about it too. I'm sure it'll be a very well-viewed episode, but is it a very productive conversation? I think on some topics, and on others not.
Yeah.
Right? And people just prying for mic time and all that. So that's one of the reasons, like, because we've met before. We didn't actually get to speak that night, but we were like, I'm really unhappy with how that went, and I feel like we both represent fragments of our side that kind of deviate from at least those extremes. Like, I'm not woke at all. I don't care about like BIPOC trans identity, anything.
You're not sensitive to it.
No, and I'm definitely not sensitive. And you, I would say, also diverge from the like, Jesus Christ is how we should run America. Like,
I'm good.
And so I think it would be really cool to see if we could reach middle grounds on a lot of the topics that we didn't get to speak on, which was all of them.
By the way, I was like looking around and I was like, I just was like, these people are all so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked around and I was like, oh, I get why no one likes us.
Well, it was like,
here we go.
I would say like a good 10 to 20% on each side were good. But then the rest, it's like, where did you find these people? Like, I don't even
Truly.
know.
I was like, was this like a Craigslist ad?
Yeah.
Because, and they were also, I just feel like everyone's like so like annoyingly like self-righteous. Like even like there was like a kid behind me and like, God bless him. But like, it made me so mad because like, look, I have to forget and I have to learn not to be emotional. No one know. I've been doing this like what since beginning of COVID, 4 years, we'll say
2020. Yeah.
And I know that besides maybe my boyfriend and my father and my very few friends I have left, that stuck around. I know that no one knows what I go through physically, emotionally, and the friends I've lost, losing jobs, having no financial security. I know no one knows what I've gone through, which is why I get so defensive of like where I am now, because at no point has it been, I've just lost so much and it's been so difficult for so long, and I'm glad I'm like still here today and didn't allow the darkness to just like sweep me off this planet.
Obviously we disagree on a lot and we'll get into that today, but Emily is a true girl's girl. Like I will say, like I have never met somebody who is so welcome and like open and like is really just there to hear other people and really does support women, even though we may disagree on some of the ways like you go about it versus I go about it. But I can genuinely say she cares about women and she cares about people, and that's why I wanted to speak to you, because I wouldn't say that about everyone on the right or the left.
Of course.
In fact, a lot of them, right?
And you see online how much shit I get about being a pick-me, a woman hater.
Yeah, she follows OnlyFans girls on Instagram.
And half my best friends are OnlyFans girls. That's the funniest part. My best friend is an OnlyFans girl, and most of my other girlfriends are. They do work that's very similar.
And I feel like we don't have a lot of, like, I feel like it's like Daily Wire, like those types of really religious conservatives. And I really think it's great how you and even your friend, like Xavier and stuff, are like representing a part of conservatism, which is like, we're girls, we're friends with OnlyFans girls, we're gay and we're eccentric, and we still believe the things that we believe. So I'm interested.
It's funny, on our lunch break, one of the black kid in the overalls came up to us, and I think we just immediately started joking. We were like, fuck this, we went and got Starbucks together. And it's so funny because I was like, if we were these hardcore right-wing people, do you think we'd be going with him in my car driving to go to Starbucks? But no one knows that. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Actually, I would even say that I wasn't, but I would see a lot of people during lunch, like people from both sides speaking. And I'm like, I guarantee you these conversations are probably far more effective than the format that they have it in.
Cameras are off.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, and they do very well. Like, and I do think they have definitely fostered some good conversations, but I don't know if that format, and they're probably going to release it close to the election, it's going to be like zooming in on people rolling their eyes. It's just theater. It's theater.
It's going to be me the whole time because I was like, I was hot. I was annoyed.
It was so hot. I literally was, she kept me for one of those post solo, and my hair was like curling. Like my makeup was like melting. I was like, I wanted the mic the whole time. Please don't give it to me after
I wore
9 hours.
So I could just sweat because everyone else's armpits were like just drenched. And I was like, no, not me. And it was funny because look, the first time we met, it was you, me, and
Farha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was like, I kind of assumed you guys probably had me there. You were like, this is probably some cringe, like Pearl, right wing, blah, blah. I think you guys were probably.
No, we loved you.
Okay. And I think you guys were probably like, I tell everyone, like, everyone changes their opinions once they hang out with me. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, what I do too, it's not that it's like not sincere, but I could, if I sit and have this conversation, it wouldn't be as exciting as me doing 30 seconds of like, oh my God, because it's like what I'm doing is politics, but it's also kind of entertainment.
Yeah.
So I have to say things in an entertaining way, which of course do come off more like, I guess you could say pick me or whatever you want to call it. But I'm like, also I'm dedicating my whole platform to like literally helping specifically women and young girls.
Exactly. And also like to be on the internet doing what we do, there's a level of cringe you can't avoid to be
because you're on the internet.
Because you're on the internet. We're literally talking to inanimate objects.
Which is so weird.
Like you have to be a little weird and quirky to even do that. Like you kind of have to be a little like, none of us were like growing up like, you know, the kids in school that never deviated from the standard. And the, like to do what we do, you kind of have to be a little eccentric. So it's just
part of
artistic. It's just part of the territory.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I make fun of myself. I'm sure you make fun of yourself all the time. Like, me and my friends, it's like all we do is make fun of ourselves.
I literally, one thing about me, if you play something that's mine around me, I will have a fucking panic attack. I can't even
watch myself.
I don't watch it. People are like, how'd you do in your debate? I go, I don't know. I blacked out and I'll never watch it. I don't watch my news clips.
Me neither.
Nothing. My assistant edits them and then I'm like, I am out. This is horrible.
Even my last middle ground, I made Farah watch. I was like, I can't watch it.
I know my boyfriend will be like, do you want to watch? I'm like, no,
I can't stand my voice. It's like, you know, when like the old days where it's like hearing your voice on an answering machine. I'm like, I can't.
No, that's me.
Can't do it.
That's why I also tell people, I'm like, you can't just judge people about who they are on the internet, because like you turn the cameras off and then we're all behind the scenes hanging out and we're all talking and we're not having like a war. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I even think like after that lunch break, one of the women, the one who had the son on the other side, which was a really interesting.
Yeah, and her son was the one we went to Starbucks with.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, she was like, yeah, it's really hard now to do this when we just became friends with this side. And it's like, how much of life is like that? Like we have these like really contentious debates or arguments, but then if you run into them in a grocery store, they're probably holding the door open for you.
Yeah.
And that. But at the same time, I understand, because a lot of these policies have real life effects and affect people, and it's obviously our lives. So it's really hard to navigate that space of like not letting, and me just being like an argumentative debate bro type of person. I'm so used to like if I like boyfriends, like we'll go ham on like, okay, let's debate water. And like, I hate you. You're so stupid. I'd never want to talk to you again. And then 5 minutes later, we're fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have that. And so they really start hating the other side. And I think one thing that we both are good at is we don't hate the other side.
No.
At all.
I just figure, I also like am unbiased enough to understand, like, you're going to turn out the way you are through either, you know, being educated a certain way, growing up a certain way, growing up in a certain state potentially. So I'm like, why? I can't be like, I hate you, because if I would have grown up in the same thing, I would have been you.
Yeah, I actually don't even believe in free will. I think it's all genes and the way your genes are interplaying with the environment, which is a really like crazy.
The only people I hate are people that are the grifters and do these things for money, which cause further divide. Like the two kids I mentioned. What are the two 20-year-olds on TikTok right now? Because you're doing it for money. And also the one thing he did yesterday, which I don't do this to the other side, but I noticed he did it to me. I didn't go to college because it wasn't an option, because I couldn't afford it. And at the time I was not smart enough either. And that actually I think is the best thing that ever happened to me. I can't even imagine trying to like pay these things. And for what? So I can make Instagram videos. I needed a degree for that. Yeah. So like for me, I'm thankful it worked out.
Oh, they brought that up as like a reason.
He just, whatever his name, Dean or whatever, he just continued before every single sentence. And on behalf of all Americans, it's extremely offensive. It's a very like entitled, ironically, attitude for someone who claims to be like the more American middle class person.
Didn't he like just graduate?
I mean, he's like literally still in school.
Yeah.
But it was so funny because he just kept saying, the reason I became a Democrat is because I'm educated, because I educate myself, because I know, I read, I do all these things. And I go, okay, you're insinuating that every single person who's not a Democrat in America is dumb. And that's obviously not true. And it's really, really insulting. And this is probably why people on our side are so sick of being bullied and like picked on. And we're kind of like fighting back finally. Yeah. Well, and I'm like, I would never say that about Democrats.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Critical thinking is supposed to be taught in schools, but I don't think it's usually even taught in schools anymore, especially like K through 12. And then depending on your college, I think like by the time you get to, because I graduated law school, so right, I'm a big fan of education. Now, do I think you should go into debt for it? No, but there's always like a saying they say in law school, the law does, you don't go to law school to learn the law, you go to law school to learn how to think. So I think there is some truth to like learning how to analyze things, learning how to figure out which sources are reliable and not reliable. But I also don't know if that's happening, especially at an undergrad level in a lot of schools, especially in California. In California, like I went to law school out of the state. My sister went to a law school in the state, and I was at her graduation. And even the graduation speeches, it was like very different. It was
what were they like?
Like mine was just a very neutral, like, okay, you guys are starting the rest of your lives and blah, blah, blah. Whereas the California one, and I'm not going to say which school she went to because I don't want her to talk, but it was very much like, okay, we're here and we're a great school because we helped Black kids do this, and we helped gay people do this, and it was very anti, like it was clearly like, we're the left, we're fighting for leftist policies. And I'm like, this is a school, like this is a school for, it's supposed to be like a school for learning, which is supposed to be neutral, and it doesn't, I will agree that it doesn't seem that way. I don't also think that there's some big conspiracy behind it, like, you know, race car drivers typically are conservative. There's something about being a race car driver that draws in conservatives. I do also think there's something about schools that do draw in liberals. Even liberals and conservatives have different brains. I don't know if you've looked into this, but conservatives have larger amygdalas. Liberals have larger, what is it, cingulate, angular cort, whatever.
What is that? Like, is that creative?
They like processing new information more, right? And then also, not your segment of the right, but a lot of the segment of the right is also religious, so they don't want to go to school and learn things. Like, so, and then amygdala.
I wanted to go to school. I wish I could have afforded it. It would have been great.
And I'm not saying every religious person doesn't want to go learn things, obviously. Like, we had, in my law school, we had a big, like, Mormon population that were really great, really smart. But I do think there's something about education that does draw in liberals, and there's something about, like, race car driving or being a sheriff or whatever that draws in. I don't think it's a conspiracy, but I also don't think it's not like people who don't go are stupid.
Yeah, that's basically what he was insinuating, is like, I'm smarter than you. And I go, you two TikTokers have something in common. You guys are kind of basically on the spectrum where you keep saying you're smarter than me because you have critical thinking skills. I go, actually, I would argue I have much more, considering every single opinion you've had in 4 hours has a complete bias and just happens to align with your side, where I'm all over the place. It's just coming from personal experience. But I'm like, you just keep going back to like, we're dumb and you're better than us. And I'm like, I think you're like on the spectrum. I think all you guys are really good at is memorizing things, because all you're doing is talking really fast and going and stating statistics. Doesn't mean you understand anything. That also doesn't mean you understand life.
One way I really know if someone is a good thinker is I hate if I can look at you and you can tell me one of your opinions and I know all your other ones already. I'm kind of bored. Well, and we're good examples of that not being the case, right? I would even say there's some like who's that? Oh my God, Destiny. I think he does a good job of. And me and him are not even cool. Like, we don't even like each other. But I will give him the props because he's somebody who'll be very pro-gun. And then he'll be anti-this. And then he'll be pro-Israel. And then he'll be fighting for Democrats.
Exactly.
That seems like someone who's actually thinking through his positions, where I do feel like some of these maybe younger Gen Z just graduated college types, like, I know your opinion on every single issue because I know your opinion on one issue. Yeah. And I feel like that's always sketchy to me.
Yeah, and that was him. They asked us at the end to criticize our side, and I immediately had no problem doing it, and he had no criticisms for his side, and I was like, okay, so you're like a shill.
Yeah. Wait, who? The one you did yesterday? Okay.
And I'm like, so, and then also, like, I have no respect when I argue with people on the other side, and I go, can you argue any of these 1,000 points without bringing up Donald Trump? And they can't. And because he kept saying, like, Donald Trump is the reason everything, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you can't. The problem is you can't argue anything without him. Yeah. And that's not good, because I'm talking about specific people, the entire country, the entire world. You can only talk about him. I don't need to bring up Kamala or Biden for almost anything. I can refer to their administration. But, like, at some point, I just, like, wanted to pull my hair out because I was like, Orange Man.
You're saying, like, personality traits of Donald Trump or his policies?
Everything. Okay. He's, you know, to him, he's the worst person. That's like, we get it. And it was just, like, one of those things where I'm like, all you're good at is memorization. And a memorization does not mean you understand anything. And no offense, like, you also have no life experience. I go, sweetie, you're in school and you're making a bunch
19, 20.
Yeah. You're making a bunch of money online. Wait until you go into the real world.
He's a good debater. I will say Dean is a good debater.
Because he's good
smart.
At memorization.
He is smart, but I'm just not interested in people who I can tell your view on everything. Like, where do you diverge from the left? And where do you diverge from the right? We both have instant answers. If you don't have any answer, it seems like you're just playing for a team.
And he is.
You know what I mean?
It's very financially beneficial.
Like, isn't it, how can you possibly think that there is two sides and one side has everything right and one side has everything wrong?
So he said that. So I said, why is it that every single thing is happening on our side? Because I even like that. You know, the woman on your guys' side that stood up at the end and she was like, I will say I've gone around the world and been educated. There is an extreme bias against Republicans in this country. And she
I remember her.
And
Sonia.
so I actually went and talked to her because she was like, I'm not gonna lie, I saw you on Jubilee and I absolutely hated you. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm talking to you, I really like you. I was like, well, you know what? I'm not here to be liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I wanted to be liked, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I've never been a likable person.
Yeah, if I wanted to be like, I wouldn't leave a very respected profession to do what I do. Like, we just
exactly,
we don't give
who
a fuck.
cares?
We don't give a
yeah,
fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
I was like, am I gonna really set my alarm for 6 a.m. every day and go into an office just to please other people?
Yeah.
Like, am I really going to sit in a cubicle or in my office and hit my billable hours every day so I can walk around and say, oh, I'm a lawyer? So like the user 2279 on Instagram doesn't call me a slut. I don't give a fuck.
Which, by the way, they still will.
Yeah, exactly.
So literally, who gives a fuck? No, but I was like, I'm not here to be fucking liked. I'm here because I genuinely, in my heart, think I'm doing the right fucking thing, and I really back my own shit. That's why I do all these interviews on the spot. I don't prepare. I don't remember statistics. I also don't need to own the other person, because at the end of the day, I know what I believe is truly in my heart. And I was like, I just don't feel that. But I told her, I was like, do you know how much respect we would give the other side if all they had to do was admit that maybe there's a little bit of a bias? And the thing is, I said, why is only our side fact checked? He said, because you guys are the only ones that are wrong. And I'm like, dude, this is why we hate you guys and we can't give you guys any credibility, because you're talking about critical thinking skills. Anyone with critical thinking skills would be like, yeah, it's a little weird when something only happens on one side.
There's like a philosophy thing that they say where it's like, do you think that there is such any of the conspiracy things, do you think at least one of them is right? And you'd probably say yes, just probability. But then when you go, which one, you don't know. Or do you think everything you believe is true? You're probably like, no, there's probably some things I'm wrong about, but you don't know what you're wrong about. You're just smart enough to know it's very unlikely I'm right about everything. Yeah. Right? And so, well, the question I have for you is, do you think statistics and looking into the facts has a place in this at all?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But unfortunately, as you know, like my thing is like, I don't actually really, besides Xavier, who I just like as a person, I don't hang out with people in politics. Yeah. And when we're together, we're like just
chilling,
being such psycho little idiots. And just being like annoying. Like we're just shit talking. And so it's like, I don't hang out with people in politics. And I understand it's really easy to win an argument when you have the statistics. And then the more I started going into health and wellness, I just realized like, oh, all you have to do, and it's very difficult to do, and this is something you can't do off a Google search, which I know these two kids love Google. I was like, you have to follow the money. And as soon as I get to the money, that determines whether I believe those facts and statistics, because unfortunately, most of the time they're extremely biased. They're paid for, and I need to be like, okay, well, is this fact paid for by the Biden administration that says Trump did this? You know what I mean?
So what's like an example?
An example, like, so there's a movie called Protocol 9. Protocol 7? Protocol 9. It's one of those that came out a while ago, and I forced my boyfriend to go see it because, like, when we met, I'm, like, next level. The tinfoil hat is on. And he's the prime example of, like, not political, just works.
It's crazy how many people are actually like that.
Oh, he's just normal.
And so it's funny when these shows are, like, middle ground, and it's like, who in this audience is a normal person? None of us. None of us. Not you, not me. No
not
one.
me.
Yeah,
I am like next level screaming like at the TV, Alex Jones is daddy, tinfoil hat on. So I understand people are not going to be on my page about a lot of things, because I'm actually the opposite of him. I believe nothing is true until I can find some type of truth in it. I don't take anything for what it's worth, where like I feel like he just takes everything for what it is and then doesn't do the effort to dive deep into it. So when I saw this movie, which is all about vaccines, this guy from the UK, he started going into finding childhood autism and all these things, then got banned from his own country, came here, and is actually still in a lawsuit with this woman to date who went and adopted a young boy, I believe from Africa, and was totally healthy and normal, got him vaccinated, and he just was, you know, not okay after that ever again. And it broke her heart, and so that's why she started getting into it. And when I realized that the people, there's the vaccine companies, and then there's the people from the government that come in and check on these companies. And I go, weird. So the government has someone for everything to go in and make sure they're doing this, to do this, to do this. The whole movie proves that these people are all paid. They're paid to make the data work. And when the data doesn't work, they're forced to make that data work. And seeing these things really just changed my life forever, because once again, I just followed the money, and I was like, well, great. Now when people are like, trust the science, I go, oh, but the science is lying to us because they're benefiting from the money, and they're benefiting from people being sick and all these things. Like, they literally showed these companies, and these are active lawsuits. If anyone in the world understands this, it's literally you. And it was like one of those things where I just was like every time I watch these things, like, I'm normal. Like, it breaks my heart. And it's like sad that Americans and children are like suffering because these companies care more about the bottom line. And the fact that these people could have taken like $60 million, but instead they're losing money and they're still in the lawsuit because all these companies have no liability. But all that movie showed me is that all the stats and the data and all, it was all manipulated. I'm not saying it was fake, but it was manipulated, and that really freaks me out. And to find independent data, I'm telling you, almost impossible.
Yeah, I do think I also do think just because you get like, this is what you do for a living, and kind of what I do for a living, not really, but I feel like doesn't mean that there isn't a standard we hold ourselves to. And there's a lot of people that don't. Like, one of the things I see is people go, oh, mainstream media sucks because there's so much money in it. But independent media, people that do YouTube and used to make no money and then have an echo chamber and an audience capture, and now they're making all this money, they're probably swayed by that too. I mean, we just saw what happened with the whole Lauren Chen thing. And I also feel like,
and by the way, fuck her.
Yeah, fuck her. I don't like her.
she said something to me on Twitter one time because, you know, I'm probably, you know, a whore to her.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I'm sorry. Now's my turn. By the way, first of all, I didn't take money from Russia. You did.
Yeah.
Oh my God, let's back the fuck up.
Yeah.
But she said something to me and I was like, I'm sorry, you're like a Bible thumping conservative. I was like, shouldn't you be, by your own standards, shouldn't you be like in the kitchen serving your husband? Why are you online?
I always think that. Like, people like Candace Owens always do this shit, and it's like, you literally talk on your show about how you go through so many nannies, and your husband's you don't need to work.
Yeah,
and you're choosing to work.
Yeah,
you're choosing to take your kids on first class flights because you have a speaking engagement and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fine then, but don't shit on boss bitches. You're a boss bitch.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, Lauren, why are you on Twitter all day? That's so
Go
liberal of you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
I
I don't like her. I'm literally like, the second you say something to me in this community, like, I'm allowed to defend myself. And I'm like, yeah, you're really America first. You're the first one to take fucking money from Russia. You think you have an impressive Twitter and a show? Yeah. Oh, so you're actually dumber than you
Isn't her shit all deleted now?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. But you do need to be careful with that. And I also do think that when you read a study and you can see the methodology and you can see how they did it, like, I do think the scientific method itself is not flawed.
No,
now,
yeah.
Can people come in and yes, but I also think it's good to not throw out the entire field of science just because there is some bias or that there was stats manipulated here or there. Like, I see people do this with psychology a lot because I've debated the red pillars a lot, like the fresh and fits and the pearls and stuff. And now,
I won't even talk to them.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime I bring up any like stat, they go, "Oh, well, there is a replication crisis in psychology." I'm like, that's not through the entire field.
Yeah,
that's through specific parts of it. You can go see, hey, like priming. That's one thing that was heavily affected. Social psychology, but like stats like college educated women are less likely to get divorced. That's not like, oh, there's a replication crisis. It's not even relevant to that, right? So throwing out an entire field of study because that there is an issue with parts of it, I don't think that's conducive either.
I'm not. I'm just saying the fact that like I take everything and then go deep into it. The fact that people like him are just like first thing that comes up on Google and then not looking at any other sources. I'm like, well, that you're kind of doing what I'm saying. Like,
what was one of the topics you guys got into yesterday?
Everything. But of course he wasn't able to debate most of them. And, you know, he's a phony, so he wants a bunch of things cut out. And then I realized, I'm like, what you guys are doing is like, it's immature, but you're 20 years old. But everything with me was like just some owning moment. So you know what he did, which by the way, this is what you do when you're losing an argument. And he did it every time with me, ironically. I would make a statement and he would do a stretch that was so far that it was so unrealistic and dumb. And I go, first of all, I don't do the hypothetical things. We might as well just sit here and just like tell a fairy tale story. I don't debate in those. I think it's a fucking waste of time, frankly. It's kind of insulting to me.
See, like as a lawyer, it's like how you test the limits of your belief.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an exercise in thinking.
Well,
so
he goes, do you say sorry?
Them.
He goes, so I told him, so he did his 20-minute apology for using the N-word.
God. Okay.
Which is funny. He didn't do his apology for using the F word, which is funny because he had a mental breakdown because I said gay yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's so funny because you used to love that word.
Yeah, where I diverge from people like Dean is even when I watch his Jubilee and he's like, I'm offended that you're using the word black. I'm like, okay, this is why people don't like us.
Oh, no, this is why people fucking hate you.
This is why people don't like us. Like, we have to be normal.
You have to be normal.
We have to be normal. Like, even in the Jubilee, when people are like, I should speak because I'm Native American. I'm like, I mean, listen, I'm not saying like that systemic racism or that people aren't treated differently, but you can't make it. It's just
you can't make it your whole personality.
Yeah, and people are sick of it, and I actually think the tides have turned from like 2020 to now, that people are kind of over that whole
I don't think it worked. I don't think it has the appeal anymore. So he sat there and did no joke. I was laughing so hard. Everyone was very upset. I was laughing because he did his 20-minute perfectly rehearsed, like a politician, I might add, apology. I'm going to do better. I'm going to learn from that word. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, you are such a fucking loser. This is so embarrassing. And he goes, so you'll never apologize? I go, no. He goes, from anything you've ever said or done in your past? I go, no. I go, no. I've been canceled 4,000 times. By the way, you don't have to dig up my past. I say fucked up shit every day.
Yeah.
You could just go on any of my social media platforms. Yeah. But he goes, okay, so if you shoot and kill a kid, you're not going to apologize?
But you haven't. Yeah.
And I go,
that's a weird.
I go,
if that's how it went, that doesn't.
No, but that's what he did the whole time. I said, okay, abortion state by state. I said, fine. If 100% of people in one state want something, give it to them. Clearly, everyone in that state must want something.
Now, how far do you take that? Like, would you
then he goes, so if everyone wanted slavery, and I just go, honestly, at this point, I don't give a fuck. Sure, go bring back slavery. Because
I was about to say, like, what, like, sure. Would you leave like interracial marriage to the states? Would you leave?
Well, California, we're still voting right now. We're voting on gay marriage. We vote every year on it. Which I think is the funniest thing ever, that we're still voting on that. I didn't know that, by the way, until I read my ballot.
Do you not think there are rights that every person in every state should have just by being an American?
Yeah, but then it goes, it's conflicting too, because then I'm like, okay, well, what are those rights? You know what I mean? Because
that's the question. But there are, like, do you believe it's just the rights that are in the Constitution? And then it becomes like, okay, like abortion was under the substantive due process clause of the Constitution, which is kind of in the Constitution, kind of not.
If I ran the country, I would be like, everyone has the right to defend themselves and have a gun. Everyone have an abortion. I think there should be like, I would be like, I'm sorry, we can't bring back slavery, Dean. I don't want that. Like, it's just one of those things. Would you think it's okay for a state to outlaw guns? No, I think it would suck. But
but would you be okay if a state decided, hey, we don't have free speech in this state, or we don't have guns?
No, that's the thing. I'd be like, well, who would want to live in that state? I guess technically it would just be a very left-leaning state, which I guess, I don't know, maybe it's better if we just send them all to one state. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, it's such a bigger picture thing, and I try to focus on things that like are actually realistic.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing is when people, and I know you're not one of these people, or maybe you are, that think like abortion is literally murder from the moment of conception. And it's like, so you're leaving murder up to the states? Like, to me, it's like logically inconsistent.
And I'm also like libertarian, and like, I want the smallest amount of government possible. That is libertarian.
Yeah.
We're like, stay out of our life, and also stay out of women's bodies.
I think you're obviously more. You actually are a libertarian, from what I know.
And I'm not religious.
Because you actually believe in that when it comes to things like abortion and gay marriage, and you're probably against like book banning. And
no, absolutely not. All books, all speech, including hate speech. Yeah. Which sometimes is just what people don't personally like.
Yeah. And I know you've made this point before, and I'm with you. I like to be consistent, so I don't like the idea of like, oh, women's body, your body, your choice, but the government will, like, what they did to Canada, like, oh, the truckers, like, oh, stuff like that.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Or even like, oh, you must get this vaccine. Now, if I go into hypothetical land, like, if there's something that's really like an emergency, like everybody is just dying on the street, fine, but we know COVID wasn't that situation. And I think for COVID, there is an argument to be made that we did too much, and we infringed on people, especially in places like California.
Oh my God, especially places
like I live in Arizona, so everybody here move there.
Yeah, I was going to say,
get the fuck out of here.
Everyone went to, ironically, red states, and that's why when they were talking about, we had mentioned too, like yesterday, I was like, we were talking about the pandemic, and it's like, of course, no president could, I don't care if it's Obama, Trump, Biden, could possibly be prepared for that or handle it in an excellent way.
Yeah.
But like the fact that, he wouldn't admit that Democrats were the ones pushing for vaccine mandates, masks, and lockdowns. And I'm like, you can't admit that. Why do you think everyone went to red states? Because they didn't have those things, because they were red states. This is also where I'm like, once again, you are just lying to be on a side. I don't like that. I'm fine. I don't need to be on any side.
Yeah.
Trump campaign's not paying me.
Yeah, I do porn.
Yeah. Republican Party hasn't given me a fucking dollar, so I can say whatever the fuck I want.
I know, I haven't got any money from Democrats, although someone said I had, but no.
Hey, if I was, I would take it. You know what I mean? I haven't gotten money from Russia either.
Yeah, the $11 million from Russia.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, you're not a little bit like, whoa.
Yeah, no, you know what's so funny? I said on Piers Morgan, I was like, how dumb are you to think your show is worth $11 million? That fucking sucks.
Yeah, that isn't getting crazy views.
Yeah, that's getting 2,000 views an episode. You're worth that.
Yeah.
Insane.
So I think with the COVID thing, but I do also think that I think a lot of times, especially what conservatives do now, is now that we have more data, they act like the data we had at the time where we made decisions on was like a lie. And I don't know if all of it was a lie or it was just what we were working with what we had. Now I was always against like forcing people to get shit done to their bodies, like get vaccines and stuff. I don't think that was okay. But I also don't think that them being like, oh, we used to think that social distancing worked, but I guess it didn't. It's like, yeah, but at the time with the information we had, it was an unprecedented event. And just because we went like we thought it was more effective than it was does not mean that there was some nefarious conspiratorial purpose behind all of it. So I do think that. Like, I don't think that just because we have more information now and that may negate information we had earlier, that doesn't mean that original information or the original protocols came from a place of like, we just hate everybody and we want you all to.
No, and I know conservatives argue that because I agree as well. It's the fact that like, I mean, I'm like a psycho. I like printed out 4,000 pages of Fauci's emails back and forth to China. Yeah. And this was 4 years ago. And I read them and I highlighted them and I was like, yo, you guys, this is crazy. He was buying, they were buying ventilators and stuff like a year before. It's not the fact that I think, of course, you're working with the information you have and you're doing the best. My issue was a lot of that information that would have helped save lives was suppressed and hidden because it was like right-leaning information when really it wasn't a political information. It was just people me that were like going into Telegram
I was
chat
very
rooms.
against like even social media platforms like censoring information about like lab leaks and stuff. Like I will say we did not handle that well. I also don't think the right saying it's a microchip and all this shit, like now you've just gone into the loony bin at that point. So I think there's obviously both sides could have done better.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Because you can't be like, it
all sucks fake. That something that's like a health thing becomes political. It that just absolutely sucks, and it did turn political really quickly.
Political now.
Yeah, so that absolutely sucks, and I do think that, and it's interesting because Trump was pushing the vaccine and stuff.
Which, to be fair, I tell everybody he was pushing the vaccine. He wanted to take credit for it. I totally understand. I don't think he was going to force people. Imagine a president though not pushing that. Imagine an anti-vaxxer president at the time. Like it wouldn't exist. You know what I mean?
Well, if there was going to be one, it would have been Trump.
So I'm like, and God bless, because like I'm 100% anti-vax. I've just
What are some things you don't like about Trump?
I don't like about him. He has an extremely high IQ. He is very smart, and I think he's a really good person. Ironically, my favorite interview he's done was the one he just did with Andrew Schultz. When the camera, I don't know, maybe it's the environment. I understand because some environments I do better because I'm more comfortable in. That was my favorite side I've ever seen of him. It was the least amount of acting, most amount of sincerity. And they would ask him questions about him. And all he talked about was really just like how much he loves his children and how proud he was. And I was like, see, this is like the side that I love. This is the side that the other side's never going to see. And I wish he would just hold back on the comments. Like, of course, the comments like JD made, like Kath, ladies, and of course, that makes our side look bad. People already think we're misogynistic. But I agree that makes our side look bad. And I'm sure they wish they would have taken those comments back as well. Because, I don't think he's a bad guy. And I don't think he meant that in a really, like, evil way, truly. Especially, like, me and my boyfriend watched the story on his life the other night. And I was just, like, crying the whole time. I'm like, I can't believe you went through this type of hell and you're here. God bless you. Anyone that goes through that, I don't care what side you're on, God bless you that you made it that far. That's tough. But like, obviously, like, I just wish you would just shut up sometimes.
Donald Trump.
Like, just reel it back, because it's crazy. I think a lot of people like me, and I think just normal Americans, for the first time saw someone that I was like, yo, I'm thinking these things, he's saying these things. But maybe that's not always the best for a president.
Like, what are some comments that you wish he didn't say?
It's hard because it's like, I love humor so much, so I'm such a troll. So like, I hear him make comments and I think they're amazing because they're true and things I would say. I just understand that's not fitting for a president. I think he just basically
there's nothing he said that you personally disagree with?
Oh, like policy-wise?
Anything.
Like, he was just talking. He basically was like Dumb and Dumber about Alex Cooper and Kamala, which 100%, I think that interview was Dumb and Dumber. But it's like, it's just, you shouldn't say it. I'm trying to think of like things
that he says or even policies that he has that you think you diverge.
Well, ironically, he's gone a lot more middle on a lot of his policies. So of course,
like abortion. Well, even abortion. It's the thing. He also. It's hard to tell because remember in the original debate where someone said, "Oh, JD Vance says you would veto an abortion ban." Yeah. He's like, I don't know. I didn't talk to him. And it's like, why didn't you just say it? It seems like the one thing about Trump is I do think trying to see the pulse of the American people, and then changes his, because he's been pro-choice and pro-life and pro-choice and pro-life. Like, well, you don't see
anything that would raise, you know, I mean, he's trying to do a lot. I do believe he tries to do a lot for the middle class. I don't think anything on like the taxes and tariffs and all that stuff. Like, it just depends how it would affect us every day. But I don't know because we're not going through it right now. I just know inflation's fucking out of control, and all we talk about, all the jokes I make at the grocery store, everything are like, woo, got 4 things. It was $120 at Whole Foods. You know what I mean? I'm not blaming that on anyone. I'm just saying we all know that it sucks right now and everything's expensive.
But you're not blaming that on liberals, or are you?
No, I'm not blaming it on anyone specifically.
Okay. Which is good because a lot of people do just blame the administration it's happening in on the person, and that's a very poor understanding of how economics works. Yeah. Right.
And I'm not I'm not an economist or whatever you want to call it.
Not my major.
Yeah. No, it's not mine too. And that's the thing. Like, unlike people on my side who would just sit here and be like, this is all because of Biden, which I'm sure part of it is because of them. They are currently in charge. I'm not going to sit here and say that because I can't prove that that's true. So if I can't,
especially because worldwide inflation went up,
bad everywhere.
Seems to be a supply chain disruption issue, and just like it's like blaming. I would never blame COVID on Trump. I would never blame what happened in 2020 on Trump. So it's weird to also blame inflation on Biden or especially Kamala, like the vice president.
Yeah. So which vice presidents kind of don't do shit.
Yeah. So I don't even like.
I think it's funny when they get so excited about the vice president. I'm like, name the last one that did something unbelievable you remember. It's like they really don't. No. But I also said moving forward, I made it very specific yesterday. I was like, moving forward, wins, loses, it doesn't matter. I will always continue. If Trump wins, I will continue to critique him on anything I disagree with, and both sides as well. I think I go after Republicans just as much as I go after Democrats.
So what's like a policy of Trump's that you would critique?
That I would critique. I mean, nothing right now. I honestly would have to sit down and go through every single one and go in depth because the only ones that matter to me right now are the ones he's running on.
Okay.
Like immigration is huge, and like obviously abortion. I'm like, oh good. It would, you know what? It would have been abortion. That's where I would have been. I would have been like, fuck no, Trump.
Okay.
Absolutely not. But now he seems pretty middle on it, and his wife is coming out being like, I'm pro-choice, which I'm like, yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like with Trump, you just don't know because he's flipped on abortion a lot of times.
I'm like, thank God. You know what I mean? Because everyone flip-flops. That's what you do as a politician. You are.
Do you feel like the 2022 midterms, part of the reason that Democrats overperformed from what everyone thought is because of issues like abortion? Like, do you feel like this will be the Achilles heel of the Republican Party if they don't?
I've been saying this for years. Okay. I literally someone posted like 6 stories and I was like, oh my God, you articulated this so perfectly. He's on the right and he is like a Christian conservative. And I don't even consider myself a conservative. I just like conservative values. I just think that they're better to preach to people, I guess you could say. But I'm not a hypocrite about it. But he was like, abortion is going to make us lose elections every time. Like, he was like, Republicans aren't ready to have this conversation. America will never be a straight up pro-life country that will ban abortion. Like, that will actually never happen. That's really sweet. I love that. I think a lot of pro-life people are amazing. I think I have a
lot of sympathy for them because if you believe that it's is really like, and I do think there are people that believe this. Now, I think they're incorrect, but they believe that this is literally murdering like someone like you or me, like a fully formed. And for
why
them,
would you
like,
be upset with that?
Yeah, like I understand, but it's not popular because it's kind of unhinged to think that like a petri dish
is the same as
us sitting here.
And I do think it is different.
It is different.
I think
it is 100%
that compared to
different.
like our parents.
Oh yeah.
Of course we value one life extremely more. They're sure you could say they're both lives, but one is significantly more important.
I mean, to bring like a trolley, like if you're driving and you have to hit a 5-year-old child or a thing of it with 50 little.
What are you going to choose every single time?
Well, we would say that's one life. This is 50 lives. It's not right. Yeah. I care about the human experience of the ability to deploy consciousness, right? Which is why at the end of life, when somebody has no chance of coming out of vegetation, we allow their loved ones to pull the plug and without thinking, oh, you're murdering someone.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing. I was like, is that That's technically murder.
Well, according to them, if all that matters about life is the point, like a second you nut, it's
which according to them, I guess
it is. As soon as you have like the ability to have your own separate DNA, which is not.
And I think it's hypocritical. I think I live in LA. 99% of people I talk to, including conservatives and Republicans, are all pro-choice. I think it is.
But you're in California.
Yes. So obviously here it is naturally the popular opinion. I think behind closed doors, most people are also pro-choice, especially when, God forbid, something were to happen to them in their personal life when maybe they're not being loyal to their partners. So I don't like the hypocrisy of it. I will say, though, pro-life people, it would be insane for me to kind of, when people like make fun of them, I go, dude, they're like literally trying to save lives in their opinion, which is a very beautiful thing. So I don't attack them for it. The same way I would wish they wouldn't attack me so hard, because as much as I'm pro-choice, that doesn't mean that I'm personally pro-choice. Yeah. And I wish people understood that before they attack me. They're kind of like calling me like a baby murdering whore. I've never had an abortion, and I don't think I'm ever going to have one. And then morally, if it happened to me, I don't think I could go through with it. So I don't think I deserve to be called those things.
I agree. Yeah. No, and name calling is just weak. Like, it doesn't do anything. Like, I always tell the leftists, like, stop calling people racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever. Like, it's just so, and there's such better critiques to make of these people. Like, when you see like an Andrew Tate and people are like, you're misogynistic. No, I don't even feel anything when you say that. Like, I feel nothing when you, like, no one cares. It's like, well, how I feel when people call me a whore. I don't care.
It's like how I feel when people call me an ugly bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just don't care. Like, actually, if you're gonna attack him and try to insult him, attack his masculinity, attack something that he cares about. Just being called these names, especially because we overuse it, doesn't do anything. So if someone's pro-life, they can explain to you why, and they can explain why your position is whatever. Just calling you a baby murderer, like, do you lose sleep over that? No.
I was shocked because I had posted on my Instagram, and it was cool because a lot of my friends with big accounts like were like, thank you. You know what I mean? And like, by the way, like, we are not party people. We're not irresponsible people. Most of us are in very committed, serious relationships. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, we're not like party girls being like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, most of the people that commented are people in health and wellness.
Yeah.
Not exactly people who are like promoting abortions by any means, because there's negative effects on your body. Same with birth control and all these,
but same with also delivering babies and then having to take care of them,
as we know.
Okay, so all of it's really hard on your body.
And I, by the way, I don't believe, because I don't have hardcore Christian conservative values. I also don't believe in shaming women to the point of like, if you don't want to get married, if you don't want to have kids, first of all, if you're not dying for those things,
probably shouldn't.
Please don't do them. That means you're probably going to bring a child into the world that, is not wanted. And like, what's worse than that? Life is already so hard when you have everything working for you.
Yeah.
I don't believe
you don't adhere in the like birth rate shit that the right is freaking out over.
I would love more parks. I would love more greenery. What I feel like that's like not like the best thing that could happen to us, but I'm like that. I feel like, I don't know.
It's not. Yeah, listen. Like, it's
but
you
new,
can't.
What are you
going to do?
You cannot.
It's a very hard problem to solve, because what are you going to do? You cannot. And it's happening everywhere. Everywhere that there's advancements in technology and like actually well-developed countries, even in Iran, where my parents are from, the birth rate is down. Like, is it because
your parents are from Iran?
Yeah.
Are you 100% Persian?
100%. I was born here, but my parents are from Iran. I'm 100% Persian. But like, is it because feminism has taken over? Because that's the argument they make is, feminism took over and now people aren't having kids. No. It's the days of people wanting 8 kids to like run their farm is over.
We can't afford a farm.
It's over, okay? And it's really hard to fix this issue, because I used to be like, we should just incentivize, and then you see in other countries are trying that. It's still not working.
It's not working.
And people are like, we're here to like reproduce, and it's like, your evolution doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't. Your goal shouldn't be just to follow like whatever your evolutionary purpose on this earth is. It should be actually achieving a life conducive to your well-being. Like, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this makes me, I don't care about if our civilization collapses in 600 years. I just don't care. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's going to. And I think
even if it does, what am I gonna do?
Well, what am I gonna do?
Am I gonna give birth now so that I can, like, in 600 years I have enough to worry about. I don't care about us continuing our species in 1,000. I just don't care. Like,
I'm more worried about not getting stabbed by the local crackhead.
I want to be happy. I want to help my community in the ways that the people that are actually here 600 years from now, like, they can handle that. And people just don't make decisions on an individual level for things like that. Yeah. Like, it's just really hard. That's why climate is really hard. And I'm actually interested to hear your views on that, because I actually haven't done any deep dive into climate.
That is literally, unfortunately, my favorite subject. And it's so crazy how many different routes I've gone in that subject. So I used to be like, oh my God, climate change, we're all gonna die. And then I went to like, oh, this is 100% fake. Hoax, yeah. And then I went back into there's a little bit. And then I watched a documentary on farming that changed my life. Do I think, okay, like, so this is very sensitive topic because of what's going on with the weather right now.
Yeah.
There is proof that the government, okay, first of all, cloud seeding is real. Mm-hmm. Weather manipulation is real. It's funny, there's people on the news and TV people who have actually talked about this, and they've clipped it, and like, you can still find these clips. Dubai, they were doing cloud seeding, and this is like widely talked about, so it's so funny because you can't deny it's not happening when they're actually trying to ban it because it's weather manipulation. And I think they had like 6 feet of rain in one day, and it almost wiped out Dubai because they were messing with it. And like, first of all, weather is like an actually very, very simple thing to create. And yeah, I 100% do think that it's not natural. The only thing is, I go and watch, I don't believe in the fear-mongering part. We're all gonna die. The water's gonna rise, because all those people benefited from writing those books. And you know, it's funny. I'm like, so wait, you're telling me that climate change is man-made, but if I donate billions of dollars to you, you can somehow fix it? Like, that doesn't sit well with me. It's really hard
to have a direct, like, because there's so many things impacting the weather that we just don't know of, that to have a really specific prediction, like, by the year 2029, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You don't have enough information to make specific.
Yeah, you don't.
Like, have by this year, this is what it's going to look like. We have enough information to know something's happening.
Yeah.
And we have probably enough information to know certain things are more helpful or less helpful in different regards. But yeah, I think like, that kind of like,
I don't think black smoke going into the air
the kid,
is incredible.
The how dare you girl, like, yeah, that's stupid.
No, and it's like, I'm sure.
What is her name?
Wait, who's that?
The girl, the like little girl, the one that's like, how dare you? You will have to know her. The girl with the environment girl, the little environment girl.
Oh, the Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
Oh, fuck her. I hate her.
I don't even hate. I think she's just like.
She's a little grifter.
She's like on the spectrum.
Yeah, well, I can still not like her. She's
I don't care about her, but I remember when that was like a thing where she was like, I'm not like.
She's like, how dare
I'm not going to school because you guys, like.
And then you find out she got like $1 million from like the left-leaning party. And you're like, okay, so this is all fake. So no, I fully was like, my Instagram bio used to be proud climate denier, which I thought was really funny. And then I watched this documentary on regenerative farming, which is the craziest thing in the world because it changed my life. And by the way, this is like all, like I said, this is data I trust. These are people who dedicate their lives to doing this and the people that actually keep us alive with food. So I watched this entire documentary. Afterwards, I'm like, how is there not one person that is left-leaning talking about this when they have scientifically proven through regenerative farming and taking care of the earth and healing the earth, which is all I hear liberals screaming about, that we can not only 100% go back and fix climate change, we can get it back to like whatever you want to call it, net zero or whatever. And I was like, wait, why is this not the biggest thing in the world like talked about right now? And I was like, because they don't want to do that. Because then how are they going to fearmonger everyone to like getting electric cars, which people are fucked right now and can't leave because they're electric cars. And then, donating billions to the party that's like, half these climate bills, it's like $100 billion to fucking Ukraine in it. They're like fake climate bills. Like when you actually go into what is inside these bills, like I did a video of one of the bills that passed. It was like $50 million for an elderly community for gay people. And I'm like, oh, that's what is inside these bills that we're passing money towards. But it's something I'm weirdly now passionate about because I was like, oh, so climate change is real, but it's happening and it's actually reversible. But how come I don't hear Democrats talking about how we can reverse it by helping these farmers and stop poisoning our food and our water and go back to the original way of farming, which is best for the land and the people? Is this not the most fucking liberal statement in the world?
I know. When I met
no one cares.
I think the only thing I remember, like from when I first met you, is you're like, I really like farming. I'm passionate.
It's amazing, and I want to help the farmers.
Yeah, I need to look into this because I don't even have my take on this yet because I need to like.
It's fine. Just let me
educate myself.
Watch this documentary because it's beautiful. But by the way, the documentary links to Big Pharma. Like I don't know if I posted a million times. Did you see that we actually just had all the people in health and wellness testify in front of the U.S. Senate?
No, I haven't seen that. I haven't followed like I feel like I go deep dives into specific topics. So like abortion, illegal immigration, whatever. And climate's been like on my list. But I'm kind of so afraid because I'm afraid to go into how much they're poisoning our food because all I do is eat out and I'm just not ready to learn about how I'm just getting poisoned.
By the way, they weren't at the US Senate for climate. They were there for poisoning our food.
Yeah.
So think about
scared. This is like, it's so scary to think about.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's like, you're like, okay, I'm sure you make enough money. You'll be okay if you need to buy a glass water bottle.
Yeah.
I think like what my goal is, because girl, I've poisoned my body for 31 years and I'm just now surrounding myself with healthy people and changing my habits. You know, like I did drugs, alcohol, I eat fast food. I didn't eat a vegetable until 2 years ago.
Okay. You know I'm where you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ate my entire life. I ate McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Jack in the Box my whole life. And I was like 90 pounds. And I was like, why do I have all these things wrong with me? I have a great doctor now, holistic, not very anti-vax or all these things. But the thing is like, I'm trying to do like health and wellness for dummies and beginners.
Okay.
To be like, no, you can actually like change your life and health in a very good way by doing very simple, natural things. Not everyone can. I mean, holistic doctors are crazy expensive to go to.
Yeah.
Healthy food, I don't know why they say it's cheap. No, it's not. If you're not buying organic, even organic is still kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You're just eating poison. You actually might as well just go eat McDonald's because all the vegetables are sprayed. And by the time it breaks down, you're just eating the poison on the vegetables.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. Like, think about how bad this is. And we didn't even talk about it, Jubilee. We had to have the top wellness people, even Jillian Michaels was there, go into U.S. Senate and ask them to stop poisoning us knowingly.
Yeah, I haven't done a deep dive on this, so I don't know, but I very much believe you that the quality of food. I even talk about this with my parents. Like my parents grew up in Iran, and everything they ate was like nuts, fruit, like stuff that was local, etc. And they're all really like healthy, and then they're like, and I grew up on like fast food and processed food, and I'm like, this is not going to be good.
Yep.
this is clearly not
going to be good. This is
not going to be good by the time, like, my dad's in his 70s, fit, healthy, and I'm like, I just don't even know if that's going to be, you know. And I know genes has a lot to do with it too, does. But at the same time, like, no, I know we can be doing better. I mean, people always say like, whoa, do you have like a lot of I'm not lactose intolerant, but I have friends that like can't eat cheese here, but then they go to Europe.
That's everybody.
And and I'm like, okay, I don't know why that is because I haven't looked into it, but there's something there.
Specifically, so my doctor was like, you're actually really lucky. She was like, you have one of the more normal guts I've seen, which everyone here has gut issues because everything's so poisoned. And she was like, basically it's very simple. If you eat gluten and dairy, you're going to feel like shit. But you're not intolerant to it, which most people self-diagnose themselves. But that's the reason why is because all of our crops are sprayed specifically with gluten. It's like the heaviest with pesticides and all this. So it is actually poison. When you go other places, they're not doing that. Regenerative farming is not doing all these things.
I know this is not what we came for. What are your top 3 tips that are easy to do to make yourself healthier? Like,
okay. So 1, cook at home.
Okay.
So avoid use. Okay.
I'm already eliminating.
Yeah. Like, no, my thing is like buy organic, eat at home, try to only drink out of glass, not plastic. And then other than that, try to eat as much like butter, meat, honestly, good quality dairy, eggs, all that. Actually, basically anything mainstream tells you, actually do the opposite. But I mean, you can go and get like, you can still go to like Trader Joe's and like read the ingredients and get really affordable stuff. Like you could like steam vegetables and chicken. It's not fun. I live in LA. We eat out every night, but it's crazy. I cannot get rid of this annoying weight I feel on me until we stop eating.
A lot of weight.
I know. It's crazy because I have the worst body dysmorphia because I was like 80 pounds underweight my whole life. So it's weird that you get older and I'm 31 now and I see weight on me and it's weird. I don't really recognize myself when I look in the mirror sometimes. That's crazy.
Because to us, you're just like a super thin, cute blonde girl.
Yeah, and to me, I'm like crying every day having mental breakdowns because I think I'm overweight and I don't.
So you like your look
myself.
now less than when you were.
I like who I am now. I don't like the way I look now as much.
That's crazy. Okay, that's crazy because I think you look great.
And my boyfriend's just like, you're nuts.
I think you're nuts. I think you're absolutely nuts. You still look 90 pounds soaking wet.
Thank you. It's crazy because I won't wear 99% of my clothing because I feel so bad in it. And then I think like, oh my God, I want to be this girl again. And he was like, babe, you were like 18. You were like a kid then. Of course you were 10 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, but he was like, you're turning into a woman. That's not what a woman should look like. Like a little scrawny kid.
I agree. I mean, I like being thick, so obviously,
well,
like,
it looks great on you.
I mean, well, whatever you look like looks great on
like,
you.
I don't know what I am anymore. But it's sad because it's like, my girlfriend was like, you're not going to get rid of that stubborn weight until you got to stop eating out. It's the seed oils. Like, if you avoid, by the way, this is going to be like, I'm going to sound crazy, but it's really awesome when you actually do research on yourself and it works. So I'm Irish, I'm pale as hell, and I would always burn. I started hanging out with this girl, and she is like healthy on a level that was unattainable and just made me feel like shit about myself. So I
can't stand those people.
Yeah, it makes you feel
like,
bad.
Yeah, and then like you don't know what to like. You want to go out and eat, but
and
like they don't eat anything,
yeah.
and then it's not fun.
No, I'm gonna like enjoy my fucking life,
yeah.
but I'm also gonna do the best I can because I don't want chronic issues in my 70s and 80s, and I want to be able to like be doing yoga at that age. But it was crazy because she was like, you're not she was like, don't use sunscreen because it leads to cancer, which I do believe that. And she was like, if you don't want to burn, don't eat seed oils. And I was like, what? And so we were going to Wild Rivers. It's a water park in Orange County. And she was like, trust me. She was like, 24, 48 hours. If you can do more, don't eat seed oils. So I was like, okay. So I cooked at home for like barely 2 days. We go to Wild Rivers. I am pale as shit. I am Irish and burn. We are out there in 100-degree heat for almost like 9 hours straight with no shade. I had no seed oils. We packed a lunch, we got wristbands at the water park so we could go eat lunch in our car that we brought from like Erewhon. And the next day, I'm no burn.
Interesting.
First time in my entire life. And like, I was like, oh my God, all these people that I thought were like cuckoo psychopaths. I was like, it's true. It's actually what I'm eating.
I've heard bad things about seed oils too.
It's actually what I'm eating that's burning my skin because it's toxic and the sun is like reacting to it.
So now you never use sunscreen and you just don't eat seed oils.
If I do eat seed oils
then
and I burn. And if I don't, but I don't use sunscreen on my body. I use very natural ones on my face and my neck. But yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but it's like, it feels good when you think something's true because you did it on yourself and it worked. I should be a lobster. I should have actually had a 3rd-degree burn and went to the hospital the next day.
Yeah, that was risky of you. Did you at least bring the sunscreen in case?
I was just like, I trust her.
That is a risk.
But I couldn't believe it, and it turned into a tan, and I was like, this makes sense because think about it, if everyone who lived in sunny places, if that was true, that the sun gives you cancer, they would all have cancer and be dying.
How did you, what is her source for why? Like, question things like that. Like, why would, like, are all dermatologists, like, in some conspiracy by telling us to wear sunscreen? Or, like, where is that?
Well, I do think, my thing is the dermatologist being like, you need a sunscreen to protect you from cancer. Obviously, I am not a specialist in this. I don't know anything. I think it makes sense, but the problem is I think they're giving you the wrong sunscreens. They're giving you sunscreens that are directly linked to cancer. And then I feel like, a dermatologist is not going to talk to you about seed oils because that's technically like a nutrition health thing, which has nothing to do with them. So I think that they just need to adjust. I think actually everyone needs to work together. But I do know that, getting cancer cut out of you is a huge industry and you make a lot of money. I had skin cancer cut out of my arm right here.
I remember last time I met you.
I have like a scar from here to here, and I was like, I think my insurance billed me, and that alone was like, would have been like $4,000. And I was like, and they get very excited to cut into you. But my thing was after that happened.
But when you say that, do you think then that that the industry is like purposely not giving us information? So it's the conspiracy stuff that's very hard for me to believe.
Conspiracy wise, do I think that all of these books were like written by like the Rothschild family and very leaning in one direction? Yes. But also, do I think that these are just normal people who are getting educated from a book that we have not updated in a long time, and we're not working with wellness people to update because they're kind of like the foo-foos in the industry? I don't think it's like some big conspiracy. I think that's literally what they're taught, and they're going with procedure, which has worked for a long time, and by the way, has worked for a lot of people. I'm just choosing to go a different route, and
that's completely your choice. Yeah, that's completely your choice.
But of course, do I think this is for everyone? Do I think I should be like, just the seed oils will stop the cancer? Like, no, I don't think you should like listen to me on that. I think most dermatologists
I get scared to give any kind of like advice like that.
My thing is like, I only get advice from like the 3 girls I know who are the healthiest people I know, who spend their lives are dedicated to helping people stop being sick. And I trust them, and I go to the doctors they send me to, and I really trust in these doctors. But you also have to trust in them with a little bit of like intuition and also kind of faith.
I remember like the age where you find out that like the doctor you go see like might not know everything and might be wrong. Because I've had issues with like, I have a tight pelvic floor, and I would go and they would just tell me all this crazy shit. Oh, you have this. Oh, you have that. Oh, you have this. You have that. Oh, it's psychological. It's this, is that. And then you finally find the one that's like, oh, I know what this is.
Yeah.
But if I were to just like write off all doctors before that, I would have never found this one. So it's like a therapist. You need to just shop around.
Oh, I agree. All doctors are different.
Or even a personal trainer. Like, it's not like people who are like, oh, I don't like doctors because I went one time and they dismissed me. I don't think it's fair to just throw the whole field out.
And you go to people who are doctors that are holistic leaning. Like mine are obviously all licensed and everything. They are doctors. I just think especially like gynecologists, I went to so many bad ones to just find one that was like decent.
Yeah. It's one of those things where there's some bad apples and there's some great doctors that actually do care. Some people are going to just see you as like another patient, and some people are going to actually care. But I don't think the whole field is like, obviously
I think most people are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. And obviously to pretend modern medicine hasn't given us great things. Like they're like, those people are just like, no, fuck them. Everything's horrible. Big pharma is 100% pharma. There's nothing that they've ever put out that has been life-saving, right? It's all about that middle ground. It's all about that nuance. Like you said, first you were super pro climate change, then you were anti climate change, and then the more you look into it,
now I'm like the most liberal on climate change.
Yeah, the more you realize that there is this middle ground that can be achieved. And I think a lot of the reason it's not is because people aren't doing these things. People don't have time. I don't blame them. This is what we do for a living. I haven't even looked
most people have jobs, so like you're probably not going to be watching documentaries, talking to all your friends in the space about it, and then getting sent 4,000 links by everyone you hang out with in your 9 million group chats.
And you have like 3 kids, and you're working 40 hours a week. Like
I'm stressing my dog.
How do these people even vote? Like it's really hard because I don't like voting or doing anything unless I'm well versed and I've done the research. But I also don't. I do social media, and I like have a job that allows me to do that. Plus, I'm educated enough to be able to read and look into those
and
things.
Understand it.
A lot of people don't, and it's like it's almost like a weird expectation we have of them to educate themselves on these topics.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. Learn everything and then make an educated vote.
It's a full-time job, and I'm like 1% educated, and I spend 24/7 doing it.
Yeah. And if anyone who thinks they're not 1% educated on like a lot of these things, they're wrong. Like it's like, what is it? The wisdom in knowing is knowing that you know nothing. I don't know, Socrates or something. Yeah. It's like the more you learn, the more you're like, I don't know a lot. Yeah. Like even me, like with all that like I'm a lawyer. Like I'm educated, but even I like have a hard time reading scientific papers. So when I see some like crackhead in their basement being like, oh, I'm like, there's no way you understood that if I didn't understand that. There's no fucking way you know shit if I didn't get it
exactly
either. So I do think sometimes it just makes sense to defer to experts. And I think I think on the right there's like this big push like experts don't know anything, we should never trust the experts, trust the science. But sometimes I feel like that is exactly what an educated person should do.
My thing is like I'm not okay with what the left did, like Dr. Robert Malone, I think, who's like one of the, I believe, creators of like the mRNA vaccine. Mm-hmm. And he was taken off the internet and had his license stripped. And I'm like, so wait a minute, this guy literally created what we're putting in our bodies, and he's not considered an expert to you guys because he has a different opinion. That's the only thing that freaks me out. Of course we should go to the experts. To me, that is the expert I want to listen to.
That's one opinion.
But I want to see all the opinions. Our issue is when you start silencing everyone, and then if everyone left just happens to be on one side. Because like technically that guy is the same, just different opinions of the guy on the left saying something completely different. That I think our issue is just like we need to make sure there's free speech across the board.
I agree.
Because of course, like everything I talk about, I have to go to the experts on. If I'm going to talk about farming, I'm going to talk to the farmers.
Yeah, anyone who's like, no, I don't trust experts. Trusting experts makes you stupid. You need to go. And I'm like. Especially on things like climate. What are you going to go measure things by yourself and go see?
Yeah, you don't have a choice. Like, you actually have to go on Google and look it up.
You have to go look at like you should see what the scientific consensus is, and then you should have access at least to see what other doctors are like. This, what is it, 3%, 97%, whatever. You should have access to that information. That information shouldn't be censored from you, but this idea of don't trust the experts, like who are you going to trust, yourself?
Well, yeah,
with your fucking high school education
like you don't know
on how vaccines work.
And I have a lot of respect. I've only seen one post, which is crazy. It's been almost 4 years, and I posted on my Instagram yesterday of a doctor coming out and was like, hey, I'm actually so sorry, like everything with COVID, mass vaccines and all that. He was like, so I actually regret, like
I think I saw you post that.
Yeah, and I was like, that is like the most respectful thing I've seen, being like, hey, you know what, maybe I actually shouldn't have trusted the experts because like they were wrong at the time, but like all I want is people coming out and be like, hey, I actually like changed my opinion, like that's okay.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we definitely should not have like shamed people and done everything we did, and I do think it's the biggest mistake our country's made.
Or even the situation that happened with the person you debated yesterday, like using language, like, bro, if people saw my like personal text my entire life, I've probably said crazy shit. Like, we all have. Yeah. And so just this idea, like if you've ever done anything bad ever, like, and I think that's one of the reasons me and you, we feel like we're not cancelable because we're so cancelable. Yeah. That it's just like, you need to just embrace it.
Yeah, like, you'd have too much content to cancel me with.
Like, someone using the N-word, I mean, like, it's whatever many years ago, like when you're rapping along to a song, that wasn't seen the way it is now. No. And to judge a person based on that. So it's just like, it's crazy the way the internet works.
Also, it's like, I'm sorry, am I going to a 14-year-old on Twitter to look for how to be a good person?
You definitely shouldn't have come to me when I was 14.
Yeah,
for that.
But it's just like, it was like, my thing was just like, it was like the apology and everything was so fake and insincere, and I said, why don't you like actually have some balls and just be like, hey, I said that I was 14 years old. Yes.
That
would be so much more respectful. But you know why he didn't? Because he doesn't want to lose followers. And I told him, that's the difference between you and me. I don't respect you because I think you're a grifter and you're weak and none of it's sincere. I don't respect people who aren't sincere no matter what their beliefs are.
I'm with you on that. Like, own your shit. And if you made a mistake, you can say it. But yeah, your mistakes, the apology should have just been, hey, I was stupid when I was 14.
I'm actively doing
better. It's not a word I would use now. You can just say that.
He goes, I'm educating myself on racism. I go, do you know how fucking dumb you sound?
And the thing is, anyone who is canceling him for that, like, if someone was going to cancel me for shit I was said when I was 14, I don't even want them around.
Why would you want to?
I don't even want fans that do that.
I don't want weak followers.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want followers.
Unfollow me.
I do have like because I was on these podcasts a lot, these red pill type of podcasts, I got a big like female like left wing thing. But then when I say like, no, like I don't think like, you know, my opinion on trans people in sports, which is such a minute, like tiny thing that somehow is a huge topic on the internet, they like lose their minds. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, and I'm like, I can't, I'm not going to be a monolith, and I'm not going to just because you guys found me from this one issue and you agree with me there, do not expect me that you're going to agree with me on everything.
Yeah.
And I actually never want to follow people that I agree with them on everything. I don't want to live in a fucking if you were to look at my YouTube recommendations, you would think I'm like a right wing like conservative psycho because it's all like Ben Shapiro. It's like crazy because I don't want to listen
to opposite. It's all liberal podcasts, which is really funny.
You want to hear the other side. I always said like the best way you have to know the best arguments against your case. Like that was something, just even as a lawyer, you have to be able to argue the other side just as well as you can argue your side, or else you're gonna get stumped.
So it's like when people have to like defend murders that are like obviously guilty, it's like you better be really good at that.
Yeah, exactly. You need to know the best arguments against. It's even like abortion. Like that's why I go from the because if I was like my body, my choice, like that's a really bad argument once you actually once you actually see what the response is to that. So you can tell when someone is like, I'm pro-choice because my body, my choice. I'm like, you have never heard a good pro-life argument. And that is why you're saying that, because if you had heard good pro-life arguments, you would never use that.
And I've heard a lot of good ones. Yeah. I like them. I have them saved on my phone. I've heard a guy recently do a pro-life argument that I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I could not argue with him.
Yeah.
It was that well thought out, and it was weird. It was almost like no points for me to argue about. My biggest thing with the left was like, don't ever say my body, my choice, but you mandated women to get vaccines.
Yeah.
Especially when they were pregnant, which is like well-known knowledge. You don't get anything while you're pregnant. You're not even supposed to eat sushi or get your hair done. So I just kind of was like, no offense, sit down, because it's hypocritical, and I can't respect that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like,
what was the trans argument, by the way?
I have no idea for our I know. Fuck. We're 3. Is that 3 hours? Or that's the time? I was like 3 hours.
I know. Oh
okay,
my God.
Okay.
This went by so
fast.
This
went by really fast. Okay, maybe we should just try to go through topic by
I wrote down some of the topics from Jubilee.
So there was illegal immigration, abortion, Election, we might vehemently disagree on, because I 100% believe that Trump tried to circumvent the will of the people after doing like a ton of research. I'm from Arizona, and when they went to Russell Bowers, Giuliani and Trump called Russell Bowers, and they said, we have evidence that 200,000 people illegally voted, and this is a lifelong Republican. There was a lot of lifelong Republicans. This is why I respect Republicans, a lot of them, because they are what saved our country. People like Mike Pence and people like these lifelong Republicans who decided to choose their oath to the Constitution over conforming to Trump, or choosing conscious over conformity, are the I have utmost respect for them. This is someone who campaigned for Trump. This is someone who wanted Trump to win, but he said, I need evidence. You need to show me the evidence. I want you to win. And then they come and they're sitting with him in the room, and they're like, yeah, we just need this many votes. Like, you can't just, and he's like, I need evidence. And then Giuliani goes, we have a lot of theories, we just don't have evidence. Like, that's crazy to me. And for people, like, what do you think of, like, do you think all these Republican officials, the DOJ, like, all of them are lying just to be anti-Trump? Or do you not think that Trump did try to cheat and win this election?
So without, I mean, I really don't believe he tried to cheat and win. I don't think all of those people are wrong, because I don't know what they know, because I don't work like that in politics, so I can't.
Well, we do know what they know, because they are like, we need evidence, and they didn't get any.
So if you don't have the evidence, then what can you do? But also, I'm like, was there evidence potentially suppressed and all these things? I don't know. Do I think that it was honest and fair? I don't like what happened.
But why? What are you basing that off?
Well, so I'm even basing it off what's happening right now. It's just all so obvious. Like, things are so much easier now to access information wise than they were then, because if you even talked about it, you were taken off everything. And I'm like, my thing is like, well, why are we not able, if it's so silly and so crazy, we should be able to talk about it. You know what I mean? So after the election happened, there was a documentary that came out that was like 10,000 Mules or something like that, basically proving, to us, that the election was not sincere because of everything going on with the ballots and the machines and everything. And
so, like, the Dominion.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, this is a biased documentary.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously it's something I believe. I also believe like Trump is totally surrounded by like rhinos and fake Republicans, especially when they get to leave and like write all these books. And I don't think he's like surrounded by good people. That's why we say Dre in the Swamp, which is like kind of everyone. Even right now, he's surrounded by people that I know are some not good people, and I don't agree with them, and I don't think they're America first. I think they're 100%.
Like, would you say Mike Pence is one of these people? Like, do you think he did anything wrong?
I've just never liked him, so I don't really. I don't know anything about. I've never liked him. I thought everything he said about women was disgusting and so weird. I've just never.
But
been
you
a fan
also
of
like
him.
when people are saying hang Mike Pence, and Trump is like, so what? Do you feel like that's?
No, he should immediately be like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so you don't agree with everything.
No,
okay,
no,
thank
God.
God,
No.
Okay.
That's just insane. I mean, even if they were saying that about like anyone else, I would just be like,
if they were saying about the kid yesterday, we would have been like,
oh,
no, yeah.
Except for that kid would probably be like, hey, fuck it if they said it about her. That's just that's
I don't
kind of our
think so.
difference.
I do think, and that's what it was it's why it's so crazy the way that he behaved.
He wouldn't even
that
get
day.
Well, he also wouldn't even get in a photo.
And I mean, all these voting machines, like, they have looked at it over and over and over again. So if there is a conspiracy against Trump, he has no evidence to show, whereas all these people are like, we've looked at this adds up. There is no evidence. Half of his cases were dismissed because the judges he appointed said there is no evidence for this. There is so much, but there is a lot of evidence of him calling and saying, do this, do that, change this, change that. Yeah. And I think if you were to be convinced that he did try to circumvent the will of the people, would you still support him?
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the thing is, everything that's on this subject, it's the things I'm seeing now. So I actually, now that I'm seeing it and it's not so censored, I actually believe it more that it happened, because now I'm like telling people, I'm like, why do we have wide open borders and all these immigrants are coming in, they're going to swing states, and we have them on camera saying they're here voting for Biden, now Harris, and I was watching James O'Keefe's new documentary, and they're interviewing them at the border, and they go, who do you think's a better president? And the immigrants illegally hopping the border are saying, oh, for us, Biden. for the country, Trump. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, the thing is now I'm like, this is an issue. And then also anyone who talks about election integrity has been censored, which I think you should be able to talk about it, even if I'm saying Trump is wrong.
Of course you should be able to talk about it. But right now, Elon Musk, which is one person, has everyone who talks about, oh, big tech. Now we have one billionaire that's a right winger that owns like the most popular platform. So he's not censoring this kind of talk anymore.
Yeah, that's why, thank God. I'm like, this is the only time I can be like, okay. And I will say, like,
I don't think it should be censored. I don't think talk about this should be censored.
I don't think anything should be
But at
censored.
the same time, I also don't think all of the studies that have been multiple studies.
And I don't think they're all false either.
Yeah, that are saying that this type of stuff does not happen. It's extremely rare. Like they were like, oh no, a bunch of dead people voted. And they went and they did a thorough investigation and they found 2.
But right now,
that's too many.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to turn an election. That's not enough to change.
But what about I mean, my thing is too, it's like, you guys know I feel like you're kind of trying to cheat when no ID. You need an ID for everything. Why wouldn't you need an ID to vote? That makes me very like uncomfortable as well.
I'm not crazy like stringent on voter ID laws. Like if people want to implement that, that's I don't have.
My thing is why fight it?
Yeah, but then again, you see like Republicans fighting shit like contraception.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
I just think my thing is like voting to me is a very important. It's like kind of.
I feel like there was things that was it Biden or Obama? I forgot which one that was trying to implement these things, and it was Republicans that were. It all just is the side that wants to
flip-flopping 24/7. Yeah, it's always now we're like fucking acting like liberals. And the other side, ironically, will say conservative.
But I feel like to me, this is just because I love this country so much, and I love our branches of government, and I love that we're a democracy. To have a leader that I think the evidence just inextricably shows that this person tried to turn the election with no evidence and asked a bunch of people and that's why like the attorney general was like no, Barr was like no, and then a bunch of other people were like, they literally half the DOJ threatened to resign because they're like, this is not okay. And these are people that are Republicans. Like, how do you, as someone who supports Trump, just say all of these Republicans, instead of being like, thank God for their bravery, thank God that they didn't go against what their oath to the Constitution to just follow Trump? How can you dismiss all of them, all the evidence, the entire DOJ, all of these Republican officials in these swing states, all of these judges that Trump appointed, all of them?
No, if they're trying to uphold the Constitution and the law, that's what I expect from Republicans, and I do respect that, and I don't throw away what they were doing. If that's what they're doing, they're actually doing the right thing. The problem is I've just seen so much evidence now that there was so much election interference, even with the White House and Meta and all these things. But also I'm like, it's just even common sense things like where I'm like, do I feel comfortable walking in with a woman so here, I don't know if it was every state, but the ballot, you could actually see when you put it in the envelope if you were a Democrat or Republican, because there was a slit in it. And I was like, how is that okay? This should be 100% hidden and personal. And then I'm handing it to a woman with a pink pussy hat on and an N95 on. So as soon as she sees Republican, I'm like, do you really think I feel
and
good
that's why I'm so for check the results, recheck it, recheck it. And they did. And they did, and they still they're not seeing this. And it's all these are bipartisan groups that have looked into this. There's been Republicans that have been looked into this, and they're like, this is just not happening. But I guess for you, what you're saying is, even if you were convinced that Trump did try to do this, you think the other issues are so big that you would still vote for him, even knowing that he tried to overturn our democracy.
Well, because now I see everything that he was talking about then, which seemed crazy then. I'm watching it happen before my eyes, and that's scaring me a lot more, and it's validating the things he said then. Even now, there's a woman, almost 70, cancer survivor who worked in the ballot machines that I guess sent a photo or a screenshot because there was some shady stuff going on. And I listened to the court hearing, and I've never heard a judge talk to a woman. Women who murder people have never been talked to like this. It was like the sickest thing. He gave her like everything consecutive, harshest sentencing, and I'm like, for, doing things with a ballot machine. And of course she's like Republican, and she's serving like 9 years. She's probably going to die in prison. And I'm like, 9 years? People are getting stabbed and not serving 9 years. So once again, it makes me think that like whatever she did, if it's illegal, that's fine. But then I'm also like, wait, on the news, there was literally a reporter while a woman with a mask on was dumping a bunch of ballots in. And I'm like, wait, but like, why hasn't anyone else been charged with anything? But this woman is getting the maximum penalty. Once again, it makes me think there's a bias, which scares me, because this is the one thing it should be, politics aside, it should just be fair and honest.
And
anyone who's not being honest should
No,
out of the
you
system.
can look at videos or you go on YouTube rabbit holes and see, oh, this person seems. That's why this has all been checked and double checked and triple checked. And I think that looking at personal, oh, this person has this story. It's like cops, right? Like when I see, oh, I had a bad experience with. I don't hate all cops. Nor do I think the cops are all horrible now and we should just throw out the whole thing. And I feel like with this election thing, it's not been just Democrats doing this. Republicans, lifelong Republicans had to be like, he tried to get me to lie and I was a fan of his.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, so my question for you is, if you saw that the evidence did show that, would that be enough for you? Because I believe that the evidence inextricably shows this. You don't.
Yeah.
But if you were, is that
But like I said, it's also crazy because it's like we're probably seeing and getting totally different information as well. So it's like I'm going down these rabbit holes of people who created this that are on the right, proving that the election was 100% stolen and through ballots, and this proves it all. Whereas like,
yeah, but I'm reading the actual paperwork. Like I'm reading what people are saying under oath. I'm reading what the actual.
But like I said, that would mean that I believe the system, and I don't believe the system. I don't believe the people in it are fair and honest. Because here's the thing. Do you believe Biden got 81 million votes and was the most popular president in history?
I think he got 81 million votes. I don't know why. I think that's
like, I can't believe that.
See, this is why because I believe like at some point you do need to trust the facts, and unless you have evidence, and the more extraordinary the claim, I think the more extraordinary the evidence. And if you believe that there was this conspiracy between Republican officials in all these states, the entire DOJ, people he appointed, his attorney general, all his vice president, who has followed him. Like,
no, I know, and
all of his lawyers are either have criminal charges or are disbarred. Yeah. And like as a lawyer, the ABA is not looking at it from a political standpoint. Yeah. Like they can't get rid of me for doing OnlyFans because I'm not violating any rules. The fact that they've disbarred Giuliani and a lot of his legal counsel shows me that no, this is all shade. Like there is so much evidence in one direction, and there's other than the other. Oh, I saw a video, and this woman was harshly sentenced.
No, I mean the problem is too. Like I hate to say it, like on this side, I think it's frustrating for us because we have a lot of evidence, but unfortunately, no one will ever take it into account, and no one will ever care, and it is just kind of
who is not taking it into account. It's just
kind of pushed off as a conspiracy. Because I mean, this is really the belief of like every person I've ever talked to. The same way where like Biden did not like, hang out in his basement and got 81 million votes. Especially thinking about like Kennedys and people that have been like extremely loved. And it's just like one of those things I'm like, I just can't believe it. But
there's just more voter turnout now than before. Like in general, people just did not vote before.
Well,
and I will say,
starting to care now.
Yeah, people are starting to care now. One thing, I took an election law class in my school, and one thing that he said to me was like, you guys think it's divisive now? People used to get beat up trying to vote. Like back in the day, like voting has never been easy. Voting has always been this contentious thing. Yeah, people used to really like, you think about it, like back then, like people, it was not as like, peaceful as now. People were really getting like, voting was a huge thing. It wasn't, and especially young voter turnout has been very new. It used to be something young people did not get involved in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like my dad, there was like a person in front of our apartment. My dad was like, fuck off, this is supposed to be personal, because they were like harassing me about voting.
That's crazy. You should never be harassing people, because I do think, and I think one thing we can agree on is most people are just trying to do their best.
Yeah, most
people love their families. Most people want to live a life, like want to be able to afford things, want to be able to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what. And do I think some people are very wrong in what they believe and how they're pursuing that? Yes, but I don't think there's a lot of people who are bad people. I think there's a lot of dumb
and like
people.
The woman on your side literally was the only person on the left I think that's ever seen us. She was like, look, I've like traveled the world, like there is a bias against these people, and I think these people have been called racist, homophobic, hillbillies, rednecks, stupid, conspiracy theorists. I think we've been bullied for so long. Now people probably don't like us because we're so aggressive. I'm like, yeah, but I'm one of these people. I've been shoved into a corner and attacked for so long. Now, like, I'm finally ready to attack back.
Girl, I moved from Oregon to Arizona.
God, Oregon's a shithole.
And I've both places, but especially Arizona, I've been treated with nothing but respect from people of all different walks of life. People are polite, people are nice. I mean, even in our middle ground with the most extremes on both sides, we were able to come together at lunch and like pretty much all be friends. Nobody was fighting during lunch. Nobody was talking shit about each other.
Yeah, one girl on your side was like, oh my God, I love you. I was like, really?
Yeah, like, I know. I had people come up like from MAGA people back, can I take a picture with you? I saw you on like this podcast or whatever.
I'm sure they love you.
And so I'm like, sure, like there is that, and I wish we could find more of that, but I also feel like these issues impact so many people, and so many people feel so strongly about it. The facts that people believe, whether they're true or not, and you know, a lot of it, it's like we don't know for sure, and some of it we do. Yeah. Where it's like, if you believe these things, like what we said about pro-life people, like they believe it's murder. So how can you blame them for fighting this hard?
Yeah, like why would they not be upset about, if they're not upset about murder? That's
exactly
actually worse.
That's actually crazy. Yeah, that's why I actually think it's crazier when people are like, it's absolutely murder, but it should be left up to the states. I'm like,
you're like, so
so murder should be left up to the states,
so they can just murder
but somehow
anyone?
Transing the kids should not be left up to the states. Like, it's inconsistent.
Well, that was an issue too. I was just like, the whole trans thing, I'm like, it's we have bigger issues.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I don't even know why they made that one.
I would say the one thing with you and me is like, maybe it's a level of higher intelligence. We just don't seem to get upset. We seem to just back our own beliefs and still understand at least a little bit the other side. Whereas if you refuse to do that, then I actually argue that you're not firm in your beliefs. If it's so easy to shake you to your core and get an emotional reaction.
After being at Middle Ground, especially when I was looking around, I was like, I never want to only hang out with people that agree with me, because
I was like, get the fuck away from them.
Sucks. It makes you scared to have a different opinion.
And they're boring.
And you never want that. Like, I would love to hang out. I have conservative friends. I have religious friends. I have all different kinds of friends. And I see that some of my friend groups, like even though I'm like kind of in it, they all believe the same thing. And it's really hard to diverge from that without losing friends. And I mean, you've lost a lot of friends.
I've lost all my friends.
Yeah, and that's crazy. That shouldn't happen.
But ironically, I get so much shit from Republicans for hanging out with the only girls that do OnlyFans. And I go, well, it's funny because they don't judge me. Yeah. And they don't treat me like shit the way Republicans will. So, and also, we don't talk about politics, which is why I love hanging out with them.
Yeah, both sides.
And usually they're really conservative, which is funny.
Both sides do it, right? The left will expel somebody because like 5 years ago they used this word, or they divulge on one thing. Like, it's just people, and especially it's like, why would you want to lose a person like you on your own side just because they don't agree with one opinion?
Oh, this is what I fight every day. I say because I'm pro-choice, you would rather have me go become a liberal and vote against you and have a huge platform and make tons of money to go against your cause. Well, maybe you really don't love your cause as much as you truly think
especially
it does.
When you see like conservatives that are like, oh, like they didn't want like Amber Rose in their thing or shit like that. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Fucking love her.
Or now even Democrats that are like, oh, we don't want Dick Cheney on our side. Like, I want everybody on this side, right?
Yeah,
and you want everybody on your side.
Oh, by the way, of course, one of the like conservative girls who like doesn't have a following. I was like, because you're not likable and you're cringe as fuck. Have the nerve to talk shit on Amber Rose. Like, why are we uplifting whores like her? And I was like, why are we not fucking uplifting someone with a huge platform who's awesome and supports us, who's actually realistic and actually likable, unlike you, bitch, because you're none of those. And I was like, you're literally just jealous. We should be uplifting lifelong conservatives.
Conservatives literally are always like, because so many celebrities are left-wing. They're like, we hate how they care about celebrity, and I agree, like we shouldn't care about celebrity.
No, we shouldn't.
But then as soon as one celebrity is on there, like Hulk Hogan is like, they're like,
oh my god, we love celebrities. Yeah. I just told her, I was like, I actually have more respect for of people like myself who went from liberal to conservative.
Or Amber,
yeah, that's why I respect her. And by the way, that's a fucking bold thing to do in her position when she could just chill and collect paychecks and not be political. So yeah, I have the utmost respect for her. And this bitch on the right is so fucking stupid. She has the nerve to be like, oh, that's really gonna shift influence. You don't think someone with 25 million followers on one platform could influence one person to vote differently?
And well, I fear you may be stupid. And the only reason that you don't want her there is because you don't like her lifestyle.
No, and she's fucking jealous. I said she's jealous because
was this on Middle Ground? Who was this?
No, I'm just talking about some girl that works in conservative media who I think is cringe as fuck, and she like talks shit on girls like me and Amber who were like leftists that like promoted sex and blah blah, and I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, you're just fucking jealous because we have huge platforms and you don't.
And it's crazy because I think that's one of the ways, like there are ways the left does this too. You lose a lot of people because it's 2024. How many people are like, contraception is a sin, and I don't want to have sex. And I don't want to have, like, literally I go to like the Met Spa I go to in Arizona, the owners are super conservative. They go to like sex parties and like do like swinger, and it's like I know that they're Republican and they're conservative, but you guys lose them when you go with this sexual purity.
That's why I don't. And I consider me and like Xavier and like all these people I friends with, like I'm trying to start a movement that's like basically like modern Republicans. So we're not attached to religion. We are pro-choice and all these things. By the way, just because you're pro-choice doesn't mean you have to be like proud about it. It's not something that I'm proud of or I even think is like a morally correct thing. It's just I'm realistic about it.
It's a hard issue. If you think abortion is an easy issue, you don't know enough about it. Yeah. And you haven't delved into it.
Especially if you're a dude.
Yeah.
I love
everybody, but everybody. A lot of these are hard topics because there are good arguments on both sides. Not for every single thing, but abortion is a very unique and difficult thing to talk because there's nothing like it.
And I love being lectured by a fucking man on it. I'm like, this is rich.
Lecture
me about pregnancy too, please, and marriage. I love to hear all your fucking opinions. Like,
which is
that's very annoying.
Yeah, and then you have these voices that are really fringe on both sides that gain so much traction
because the people that are farthest on each side get all the attention. Meanwhile, people in the middle don't get as much
attention. They're doing theater.
Yeah, it's performative. I don't think they believe all that shit.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I feel like it's so terminally online, and like that's one of the reasons like even the dogs and cats comment, like that's such an online thing, and a lot of normal people are like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like,
what honestly really funny.
What the fuck are these people saying? Like, it's
and most of it I just laugh about because I'm like, life is really short. We are here to enjoy it. So like when he makes comments like that, like to me it's like it's like really funny to me. And like when
I think people don't get it, we're like we are animals. So when you guys are like, I can't believe this is how, you know how hard it is for us as like just a regular, just typical one species. Yes, we're more intelligent than at least what we know of right now. Are like we are the apex right now, but we came together, we're so many of us, and we're trying to create little societies, and we're trying to do like that's going to be very hard. You remember like even in school where they would be like, okay, everybody, you're all going to come in. It's so hard to develop. Or do we want a democracy? Who's going to lead it? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? So that's why these conspiracy theories, like the global cabal, like, oh, there's a small group of people controlling everything, is very, very hard to believe because it's so hard with this many people to control fucking anything because there's so many variables.
Can't control their households.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there's like 4 Jews controlling it.
Well, that shit's really annoying. That shit's really annoying because a lot of right-wing people go down crazy rabbit holes, and every single thing in the world is like connected back to Jews, and I'm like, you guys are so crazy. Is this really what you're focused on?
Yeah.
It's like, no offense, it's like, get a fucking life. Even though I actually am one of those tinfoil hat people that's like, I do think there's like a small group of people and they're all pedophiles controlling the world.
But when you see like Candace Owens, whose whole thing the last 2 weeks is Kamala really black? Like, who cares?
My thing is like, who gives a fuck?
Who gives a fuck?
I do think her accents are actually really funny.
They're funny, but how you're supposed to be informing people, or you're supposed to be actually making a point, and you're spending 2 weeks on what is her actual heritage. I don't care.
Even like
I would never vote for her or not. Yeah, I mean, because people want to just watch.
That's an easier issue for the very simple-minded
dim-witted people. Yeah.
Whereas like I'm like, okay, let's go back to the government controlling the weather since like the 70s or whatever the fuck's going on, where most people like they can't even attempt to dabble in that because their minds are exploded. Where like my mind has already been broken. Like it's very simple. Like I woke up one day and like I cried for 3 months straight, was like schizophrenic. I was like, okay, everything I've ever been told is a lie. Everything's a lie. Now how do I start again? So it's like it already like life already broke me to my core. Where like you could tell me anything now and I'm not going to be emotional about it. I'd be like, cool, let's like get into this.
Yeah.
Where most people want like, I didn't know she's black.
Well, people also want the tea, right? Like a lot of people said the VP debate was boring because it actually focused a lot more on policy, whereas with like Trump, it's never boring. Yeah, because Trump, it's
you want it to be boring. It's supposed to be policy.
It's supposed to be policy driven, but when it's policy driven, people get bored. Like people like, I mean, even ours, like when Parker and the other guy came up on the economy, I don't like, they both did really well, but that was the least, like I don't remember one thing either of them said.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, that was actually just a policy based discussion. They actually did reach a middle ground on lowering taxes on the middle class.
And they were both really
That's
good.
how it, they were both excellent, and it was a really great discussion, but like probably the least memorable part of the
because
thing,
it was very serious
versus like Israel Palestine, people are screaming, and that's what like, why do we like reality TV? Why do we like shows with murder and this and the
people like shit thrown in their face?
And so it's just part of human nature, which is really hard because it's also we are a democracy, so it's people that are supposed to make informed votes, informed decisions, and not only do they not have the time, the capacity, the IQ a lot of the time, to education to actually be able to delve into these issues, but on top of that, it's really boring. Even for us, some of it's boring.
I mean, I can't even like look into things because I get so bored.
Oh yeah, like I remember before Jubilee, because I didn't really know the format, so I was like, let me educate myself on like the things I don't know. I was like, I really like the last thing I want to do on a Saturday night is learn about the Keystone Pipeline. Like,
I by the way, I have a policy. Like, I don't look into anything. I just give a quick opinion on it.
How do you feel about that though? Because don't you want to be informed, or do you just think like,
what's it gonna? I'm realistically. I mean, most of my. I'm known as being a commentator and giving an opinion based on comments, and most of my opinions literally just go from life experience of looking around. If it's a very specific topic, I'll look into it. Like I said, it's very hard for me to find information that I really trust on it. I'll look into it. Most of it is pretty black and white, and you can see a decent amount of information. But my thing is,
do you really feel like most things are black and white? Like so many things have so much nuance.
No, I mean very simple things like a bill. Okay, then look up the bill, see what's inside of it.
Yeah. You should be doing that. And most people aren't doing
that.
And
I don't think they're going to be like putting like, like kiddie porn into like the bill in that manner. So I'm not going to go super tinfoil hat on it. But most things like that are like, I can just like look into it. But that's why people like me, because I just try to sum things up in a very dumb way for people to understand, because that's kind of what they need. If I sit here and talk about a bill for 4 hours, no one's going to pay attention.
True. But do you find that because I'm the opposite of you. I like to know, I want to look at the facts. I want to look at the best arguments on both sides before I have an opinion, because I want to make sure my opinion is not just coming from my own biases and my own experience, because my own experience is just one experience. I rather look at the experience of a lot of people and look at the data. I actually do really like to look at data and see because my experience tells me the earth is flat. Like, that's what looks flat. Like, but I'm wrong. Like, I'm just, oh God.
I'm like, I bet you think we went to the moon too.
Yeah, I did. I think dinosaurs are real.
That is literally my favorite. I am 100% convinced the moon landing was not real.
All right, let's do conspiracy. Do you think dinosaurs are real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Potentially. I don't know though, because after I like found out one time that the whole like what's the huge dinosaur, like the big like
Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah. After I found out that they just put a bunch of shit together and it's actually not that at all, and I was like, oh, but that might just be like it just was never that big.
There are things we don't know that we're just like look like right like maybe if I were to be transported back into time, the color or the scale, like whatever the sound, like people say the dinosaur sound probably sounds a lot more like a shark or some people say like, oh, it could sound a little bit different. I'm like, okay. But there are people who just don't think they existed. There are people.
Well, I'm sorry. Was I there? How the fuck would you know?
Okay. These are the same people though who think that for sure Jesus resurrected from the dead.
Okay, here's the thing. If you can believe in Jesus, you can definitely believe in dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of crazy to be like one's insane, but the other one's not insane. I'm sorry. Like I
mean, the thing is, I don't want to put myself in a position where unless I was there, I don't believe anything.
No, I know, but that's just one of those things when people are so diehard on it. I'm like. Okay. But like you also weren't there.
You weren't there, but I mean like
we have fossils.
Exactly. We have enough evidence or people who say the Holocaust didn't happen. I don't want to turn to them and be like, well, you weren't there. Yeah. Like we have enough evidence to know
I mean we have
happened.
Like literal videos and footage, and also we have survivors. You would think that would be enough.
But I guess they're all lying.
Which is funny because I was saying, yesterday I was like, you think it's okay, like in a classroom I want one thing, an American flag. I don't want a trans flag, gay flag, Palestine flag. I don't want any of those things because it's like, obviously there's going to be a bias. And like there was a kid caught a teacher literally denying the Holocaust with a Palestinian flag. And I was like, do you think this is okay? And liberals would be like, yeah, that's fine. They can teach whatever they want. I'm like, well, actually, like it's actually my kid and we pay your fucking salary, and you actually just can't teach a kid your fucking biases and whatever you want. That's insane.
Yeah, because these are the same people, which I think rightfully are like, we shouldn't have like school-led prayer and we shouldn't have religion.
Okay, so you shouldn't have flags representing your ideas either.
I agree. And I mean, an American flag's fine. You shouldn't force people to do the Pledge of Allegiance, which from the time I was a kid, nobody was forced to do it. I don't think that they should be forcing kids to do I don't think they should be forcing kids to pledge allegiance. I don't think they should be forcing kids. I actually think very much teachers should you remember when we were young and teachers like just were not even like if you ran into them outside of school, you were like, what the fuck?
I like when they like weren't humans.
I know, when they weren't humans. I don't like my teachers to be human.
No, you're a teacher. You're there to teach. By the way, you're sure as fuck not there to be friends with your students. You're there to be a teacher. Like my thing is like we didn't know who they were having sex with or what their sexual orientation was because they were there to teach. And I think it's very inappropriate now and it's very weird. They're like kind of friends with them. Like there's a reason why kids can't read.
Now professors are different. Yeah, no, the education thing is a whole thing. But like for like elementary school, middle school. But the thing I think people are like, you're allowed as a teacher to have a picture of your husband on your desk. Fine. If you're in a cis relationship, talk about it. Or if you're exactly. Yeah. So I just feel like sometimes like I hear this a lot and I'm sure you don't agree with this, but like I was having a conversation with someone and they're like, yeah, they're pushing on like this LGBTQ stuff onto kids. I'm like, oh, can you give me an example? Yeah, in Peppa Pig, there's a same-sex couple, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of regular couples on the show. You think just a gay couple existing is already pushing something? That to me is crazy.
I don't think existing, but I definitely like it is weird how all the super, and these aren't just like Democrats, these are specifically very extremely left-leaning teachers are on TikTok, where like it's crazy.
Well, everyone on TikTok is just unhinged. Everyone on TikTok is crazy. Every single person on TikTok
I'm all for free speech, but I'm perfectly supportive of them banning TikTok because
me too.
it is.
I don't fuck with TikTok at all.
No, it's a sick platform.
I literally every time I go on it, I just get dumber. Like I go down some rabbit hole on Drum. People are just doxing each other. That's
all it is. It's people canceling each other and then like maker
on
reviews.
Both sides. Like I think libs of TikTok is unhinged, but I also think these left like doctors who come up with like and like with their pronouns are also unhinged.
Yeah.
But obviously TikTok is a platform that again props up those crazy people. I wouldn't say that most teachers are like that. And I do think like, you know, what we saw in Florida with like now they're banning like regular books. They're not it's people are like, oh no, we started this because there was like pornography and fine, but that's not where it ends, especially when you get the religious conservatives.
I don't believe in book banning. I believe in removing things for pornography.
That's it. Yeah, more than if acceptable. It's actually pornography, sure, but I think the Diary of Anne Frank is like banned in certain parts, like stuff like that.
We're really like reversing.
And I also feel like you lose a lot of the population when you do that, right? Because the right does it and the left does it when we go gender pronouns or we can't watch this show. Like I remember because I grew up in my college was very liberal, and it's like everything is problematic. You can't watch this show, it's problematic. You can't do that, it's problematic. And I was like, you guys just are boring now. Like I like comedy. I like comedy. I like like if you hang out with me and my friends, we're all like different races. Like I'm from the Middle East. And all we do is make jokes about race and gender. And I constantly make jokes about being like a porn star. Like I constantly
make fun of myself harder than anyone.
And I would hate to be around like a kid even like and I think Dean is a really great debater and I agree with him on 99% of things. But when he says things like, oh, like don't use the word black, that's offensive, or don't do this, or just
you know what it is? I think it's if I was black, I'd be insulted. I'd be like, why do you think you have to tread so fucking lightly around me? Why do you have this like white savior fucking complex? It's funny because I get called racist every day. I'm like, so my best friend's black and my boyfriend's fucking Middle Eastern. Yeah. And somehow I'm still the most racist person in America. And I go, you know, it's like my thing is like when I talk about race a lot, and I've been known to not give a fuck, and I say racist things online. No, it's because I see them as people.
I've never even heard you talk about race.
I'll say statistics. I make comments, and it's very simple. I go, I see them as human like me. So I'm going to hold them to the same fucking standard, and I'm not going to treat them differently or tiptoe around it. And I'm going to be like, hey, a lot of crime right here. What's going on? Should we work on the family unit?
I'm with you there. I think it's called
like,
I think a term that was coined was like bigotry of low expectations. And me as a Middle Eastern person who comes from an Islamic republic where gay people are killed, where women like me would be executed for doing OnlyFans.
And all of a sudden, acknowledging that.
And all of a sudden, it's like the left doesn't want to say anything about Islam, or they don't want to critique Islam because it's a religion that brown people practice. And I'm like,
but they'll critique Christianity.
I'm like, apostasy literally has a death penalty over there. We're gonna pretend that that's all just cultural relativism.
Why are they acting like it's extremely progressive there?
I mean, this is the thing, like they won't critique it because it's the religion practiced by brown people. And I agree with you. I'm insulted by that. It's like, do you think that we can't like fucking get it together, that we have to be barbaric and like have these practices for like I remember being in a college class where they were literally saying female genital mutilation is a cultural issue and that it's not objectively wrong. Now, if you want to get super into philosophy, like objective morality versus not, but I think like being in America and being pro Western values, I don't believe in children being genitally mutilated. And I don't think that that's just their culture. Like, I want to say that's a fucking that's a shit culture. And I'm allowed to say it because I'm Middle Eastern in these circles, but you're not. And it's like, I want as many people to say this is wrong as possible. I want as many people to stand up for the atheists, the gay people, the women, pretty much everybody in the Middle East. I want everybody to say that's fucking ridiculous. That's crazy. Yeah. Like, we shouldn't be supporting this.
Yeah, I've never heard them. I'm like, so what's going on with like child brides? I'm like, I never hear you guys complaining about that. You guys are so obsessed with women's rights, except for the women around the world who like can't show their face
because they're brown, and because we can't critique them because in their culture, if they want to kill people and not let women drive and whatever, that's okay. And that really bothers me, especially being someone whose parents are from there. Like my mom, literally, when the revolution happened, they shut the university doors and they say women can't go to university anymore. And people here are like, oh, that's fucked up, but you're scared to say it. Like I remember with the whole Sam Harris thing, like years ago, where it was like something on where I was like, and I'm Middle Eastern, all my like liberal, usually white friends are like, oh my God, he's Islamophobic. I was like, no, I want people to talk about this because I have family there and I have people there who need us. Like it's not the people there that need us are the people that are like us, that are atheists, that are gay, that are women, agnostic, that are whatever. And you guys are basically letting all of those people down because you're afraid to critique brown people.
Not me.
Yeah, not you.
Not me. I critique I'm not gonna act like I'm some fan of Islam and I think it's progressive. It's I'm so tired of arguing with liberals. Like it is not an inherently violent religion. And I'm like, okay, so then go there. You should go experience it for yourself. But I'm tired of hearing white liberals defend it. Like women aren't suffering every single day.
Look, I critique all the religions. I think the Bible is crazy. I think the Quran is crazy. I think all of them are crazy. But I hate when people only critique the Bible and not the Quran. When the Quran is, I think, scripturally arguably worse. Not saying the Bible is good. I think they're both just crazy. But it's my people who are suffering from this, and the people that are supposed to be championing minorities, you're not, because you're afraid. It's insulting. It's like saying like, oh, you guys can't do better than this. Like, what do you mean we can't do better? We can't get to a place where we don't execute gay people. Like, are you crazy?
Or we don't marry 12-year-olds?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sheila, that's what Sheila, I was like, how are you going to deny? She literally fled that as a little girl and experienced it. My boyfriend's parents left Iran too.
Yeah, my parents
lost everything.
All the Persians here, we left Iran because of this, and there are so many of our family members that are still stuck there, and we have no support from liberals when it comes to critiquing this ideology that has embedded itself into our cultures because you guys feel like we're brown. So I guess we're held to a different standard for us.
Yeah, you'll be called Islamophobic. I'm like, I'm not scared. You guys are scared, I think, because you won't critique them. I think it's inherently wrong.
And I mean, it's an idea. Like, it's not. Yes. Do I think there are people who actually hate Muslims? Yes. But I don't think critiquing Islam is synonymous with that.
It's very different.
It's just very like elementary level thinking. But for some reason, most of the world, or at least most of the people we're around, just don't see it.
But it's true. I see Christianity, Judaism, I see it violently attacked. But I'm like, interesting how you guys aren't attacking the one that's the least progressive.
And the one that actually doesn't have any respect for free speech. The one that's actually killing people for drawings.
And the people that are like them. Like, I was like, every single liberal in America would die there. Oh. And a lot of conservatives as well. Yeah. But I'm like, it's just weird how, like, I find it funny, like, talking about women's rights. I'm like, you guys are completely silent on the Middle East when it comes to that.
Yeah, and listen, like, I'm honest. Like, I my heart breaks for what's happening in Palestine and Gaza, and I don't think anyone should be killed.
Anytime innocent children are suffering because of corrupt governments, all of our governments are corrupt. Every single one is sad.
If I had to go visit, I do OnlyFans. I can't even go to my country. I can't go to Iran. I'd have to go to Israel. Israel's the only place that wouldn't fucking kill me.
Okay. So can we, middle ground, can we agree it is not kind of funny if you asked every single person, especially a liberal, say you want to like have the nose ring, blue hair. Okay, if you have a choice. You have to go live in Israel or Palestine.
You'd want to go live in Israel, but I don't think that means we should be massacring Palestinians.
It doesn't, but it does prove a point. One side is a lot more progressive, so it's funny the progressive people are championing so hard for the other side, but I know there's not other reasons.
Yeah, there are other reasons for that, and I do understand that. Actually, one thing that really on our side, so the guy that went up to speak on our side, Evan, I love him, he's really great, but even when he was saying that, he was like, yeah, I believe in a two-state solution, and there were people on our side that's like, that's not viable, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, is Israel supposed to just not exist? And
to them, yeah,
but that's crazy. I think not wanting a two-state solution, honestly, on either side, but especially like Palestinians who are just saying we want, like, first of all, it's not even practical for y'all, and are saying that's the only viable solution here. You shouldn't even be in the conversation. You should not be in the conversation at all. Like it's crazy. And the thing that Sheila said that did bother me though is anti-Zionism is anti-Semitic. I don't agree with that. I don't know if you do.
What is Zionism? Just the right for people to exist and be themselves. I'm fine with that, but I don't like the way that term is used. I also don't like the way anti-Semitic is thrown around.
That's
ironically,
my point,
I've been pretty pro-Israel, especially because I'm very anti-Islam, and I will never hide that. I just am. I don't care. And I've been called anti-Semitic a million times. I go, whoa. Let's calm the fuck down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, literally.
That word is thrown around. I mean, I think she threw it around.
It's thrown around a lot, and I don't like it because I do think it is a very easy way to just call the it's like the racism, the trans
and there are real people and there are real people who are anti-Semitic. 100%.
There surely are.
There are, but not every critique of Israel is
but when you start calling people like me that, then it kind of disqualifies everything else, and it's coming from a very emotional, biased standpoint, which I just don't agree with. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also I was like, well, one place is surrounded by everybody that wants to kill them. I think they're allowed to have their own place to like live in peace.
I agree 100%. They should have their own place, but I don't believe that they should just have free reign to just destroy everybody in their path, including children and all that, just to
of course children should never suffer.
Reach that end.
I also think liberals need to realize that is war.
That I agree. Some of that is, but I do think that in 2024 we should be looking for ways to minimize that if possible. So there are.
I just don't like that liberals too. They don't. They're like, oh, well, we don't like you did do something horrific and then you got extreme backlash for it.
Oh yeah.
So you can't just be crying genocide.
Oh yeah. When
and
people
take no
when people don't condemn what happened, that
which
on October.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh.
But sorry.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're
sorry.
good.
No, we're good. We could go forever.
Yeah, we could. We didn't even actually go into topic by topic.
I'm like, I feel like that was the entire middle ground.
Yeah, we did. I mean, the middle ground here is that there are good people on both sides and there are crazy people on both sides. And
those crazy people are promoted to the top of the fucking algorithm, which is why people like me tend to not do as well.
Yeah, or me.
But I'm
always banned.
But my thing is like, well, I was gonna say I'm banned, but I'm also like, I'm not gonna like grift to the right wing either. Because
I will say that. Like, I think Emily is wrong on a lot of things, but she is sincere and she does really give a fuck about women. Which,
I do. And children. That's my number one thing.
That alone, like, she does say crazy shit, but at that alone, to me, is enough of a reason that, like, we should be supporting. Because there's a lot of people online who don't actually give a fuck about people, don't give a fuck about women, and will say whatever they need to do for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And Emily really does not give a fuck. She just wants to be a little farmer.
Yeah, just let me like fucking live. Just let me cook.
So that's why I'm here. And she's willing to have a conversation with anyone. Like, she was super open to me. She's open to anybody. I can't imagine you not.
I've never said no to a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
What do I care?
Me neither, honestly.
Yeah.
Me neither. I'm open to a conversation with literally anyone. There's a lot of people who don't want to speak to me, and there's a lot of people who don't want to
no
speak
one wants
to
to talk to me because they know I don't give a fuck enough.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Bye.